if my mind work backwards just for a minute, I'd hold on to you before the memory's gone. I remember you lift my spirit. With you high is all I'm feeling. Remember how we felt alive. I remember you make me stronger. Can't go without it much longer. Remember, I remember you lift my spirit. With you high is all I'm feeling.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 47, I believe, of the ADV podcast. Is it 47 or 48?
It is. It's 47.
Okay. We have some important things to talk about today.
Make sure you watch 46 and 45 before that, because this will make no sense.
Just kidding. Guys, seriously, we can't wait to get stuck into this one. So we are just going to get stuck into it with our What's New segment. So What's New is when we talk about what's new, especially with regards to China. Now, before we start our What's New segment, there's something that we didn't put into our little media pack, which I wanted to mention, and that is fake vaccines coming out of China.
Yeah.
It's been now confirmed that there are fake vaccines that have been sold not only within mainland China, but externally outside of mainland China. And once again, this is something that we've been talking about for the longest time. You can expect this kind of thing. Don't trust the vaccines coming out of China because they already have been proven that they're fake ones. Just remember, this is something that's hit China a lot before. A lot of vaccine scandals when it comes to the health of their own children. So
it's almost one of those things where, number one, we don't like to be right. It's like we regret being right. Yeah. I don't want to say I told you so, but unfortunately, I told you so.
Yeah.
Number two, you'd think after all of these instances of this happening, that more would be done to change the public psyche to not try to poison its own citizens / people abroad. Can you stop trying to kill people with fake medicine and vaccines?
Yeah, well, apparently this time it's just kind of like a saline solution that they're using, so it's probably not going to be harmful.
Still nefarious.
But, the harmful thing behind a fake vaccine is you think you've been vaccinated and then you get infected. So
we're peaking, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, we're Peking duck.
Can you lower the volume?
I probably can. Anyway, guys, first we're going to go into our What's New. Maybe you can ask people a question about what's happening.
Okay, we're looking at something here on the screen here. You see a little doggy. You see a woman with a tan shirt, and you see some police officers. Now, what if I was to ask you, what do you think is happening here? And I'm going to give you guys about 10 seconds. We can speculate. Let's pretend like we don't know what's happening.
Okay.
I see a woman. She's like, "Oh, look at the cute police dog. Oh, woof woof."
Sure.
Let me give him a little pet.
Sure.
Now that police dog is probably there to sniff out stuff, right?
Contraband,
Contraband in the airport.
Stuff, yeah.
Now, you guys might be guessing that the police dog has found something.
Yeah.
You might be wrong. Maybe it's not the police dog that found something. Maybe it's our own visual inspection. So, you guys using your 10 seconds of your eyes, your visual technique, your senses.
Yep.
Have you figured out what is wrong with this picture? And I'll look at the comments.
Sure.
People are saying it's a drug bust.
Okay.
Fentanyl.
Fentanyl? No.
COVID.
No.
Drug scanning. So pretty much everyone's saying either corona or drug scanning. I don't think drugs can smell viruses.
What if I told you that it was 1,000 What?
There's another picture.
Oh, there's another picture.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay.
You're just making a joke.
Yeah. No. I was telling the truth, but don't worry.
You're just making a joke.
You'll see in a minute.
Okay. So there's some stockings here. Now, actually, if you don't mind going back to the previous picture, let me see that.
Sure.
If you look at this woman's back, can you see these rolls? These are not fat rolls.
No.
On the back, you can see that these are actually stockings. So go forward.
Yeah.
Now, these stockings, again, you're going to have to guess. It looks like drugs, doesn't it?
It definitely looks like drugs.
It is not drugs.
It's not
guys.
drugs.
It is not drugs. Yeah, people still didn't figure it out. It's not cash, and it is not milk powder.
No.
It is, in fact...
1,000 cacti.
And we're not talking about this kind.
Yeah, this is not, it's 1,000 cacti and succulents.
Right.
Okay? And I'll explain a little bit behind. Yeah, you know what succulents are. It's a type of plant, right? Yeah. Basically, this woman was trying to smuggle these, a Chinese woman who lives in New Zealand, was trying to smuggle them into New Zealand in order to sell them kind of on the black market there. Because they have a high value, probably something to do with TCM or whatever.
But it's potentially endemic.
Yeah, that's the problem is New Zealand and Australia have very strict laws when it comes to bringing in foreign plants. In fact, most countries do.
Of course.
Okay.
I think every country does.
Yeah, exactly. But I know specifically Australia and New Zealand
here is massive as well.
Because I know that the Australian, like, I don't know if it was the beef or the wool trade or something, got really hit hard when somebody brought in a parasite on a plant once.
Right.
Anyway, so they're very, very, like, hardcore about this. So basically, she smuggled over 1,000 cacti and succulents strapped to her body that she was going to sell. Now, when the drug dog detected her, she ran off to the bathroom and tried to dispose of most of it.
She tried to flush cacti in the toilet.
They still found most of it. Anyway, the thing is, this is not her first offense.
No, it's just not her first rodeo.
Apparently,
She's been riding the cactus train a few times.
Previously, she tried to smuggle in a bunch of forbidden seeds.
Forbidden seeds.
Well, you know, she tried to smuggle in a bunch of seeds in iPad packaging, you know, like iPad case packaging or something. The same woman. Anyway,
Forbidden seed sounds like semen that's been tainted with STDs.
Well, I mean, the thing is, if you don't want these seeds that could really mess up the New Zealand
China's been messing with the West with seeds for a little while now.
Yeah.
Remember when they're sending out
those weird bags of seeds. But the fact of the matter is, it's really annoying that she's been caught multiple times, and all that she got was like a supervision or something.
Yeah, slap on the wrist.
Slap on the wrist. It's like these Daigo are relentless. You know, smuggling works both ways, obviously, and it has become what I can say is it's a very lucrative business for a lot of Chinese people, and the reason being that China has a very difficult taxation system, import system. On paper, it's very difficult to get anything done, and it's very expensive. They put luxury taxes on all sorts of goods.
Yeah.
So, for instance, if you bring in perfume or an LV bag or something, it costs so much more in China than if you were to buy it overseas. So it's created this job of people that literally all they do is they go overseas on a student visa. I mean, they're not actually going to study.
No.
Or a work visa, whatever they do, or just a tourist visa, and they go and stay in wherever, you know, France or Japan or any of the places where a lot of these goods come from, Korea. And all they do all day, every day is go to the shops, buy up goods, and then illegally send them back, smuggle them back. So either through the post and just don't declare anything, or they fly back with the goods in their bags, you know, and they never really checked. Most of the time they get away with it, and then they just sell it, and instead of buying it in the shop for $200, you can buy it from them for like $80. Makes sense, and they make a killing because they put a markup on. And there's huge rings of these people all over the world. It's like networks, and it's quite astounding. That's how they managed to get all the milk powder off the shelves in Australia, for instance, and things like that.
Sure.
But yeah, it's just kind of interesting to see it in the reverse.
Yeah.
Taking stuff into New Zealand because there's obviously a demand there, and because of the laws, you're not allowed to have those plants.
I wonder if there's like people in New Zealand or some Kiwis out there, and they're just like, they were waiting for her. She's like bringing in their favorite forbidden cactus cutting. They're gonna like grow like their little illegal garden in their house or something.
Interesting. By the way, people are saying that there's a 10-second episode up on our channel. Maybe just delete it.
Sure.
Sorry. I will continue with the news while C-Milk just gets rid of the confusion. Sorry about that, guys. We have been having technical issues. It's not our fault, I'd like to say. For some reason, the software that we're using, there was an update, and it's kind of made everything go haywire. And I give you a personal pledge that I will have worked all these bugs out by next week. Anyway, if we continue on...
Should have been 47 episodes ago.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's pretty much what's
I'll
in...
be fixing this. I just got to use my...
Your little screwdriver. Okay.
You entertain the crowd.
Okay, I
Maybe
will.
you can... there's another... What's new?
Is there? I don't see it.
Keep going. I make these media packs with gaps.
Yeah, that's
what's new.
Is this what's new?
Yeah, of
oh,
course.
okay, sorry. What you're seeing here is, believe it or not, Canada. And this is something that's quite disturbing. The Canadians have been training Chinese police. And, we've got a whole thing about it, don't we? It's the Justice Institute of BC, and I guess BC is British Columbia. So the JIBC has accepted close to 2,000 Chinese law enforcement students, recruits, and officials, plus dozens of Chinese state judges to its purported education and training program since 2013. So from what I gather, it's some kind of a intensive police training to train all sorts of tactics and law enforcement and stuff. And they trained people from, all over the world, basically, and I suppose people within Canada, actual Canadians too. But the fact that Canada is training actual Chinese police is a little bit concerning to me, especially considering what Chinese police have been taking part in within China and Hong Kong and things like that. It's kind of...
Well, yeah, what I was going to say is that, Canada, what are you doing? I'm not going to be Mr. Defeatist Doom and Gloom Boy over here, but that's just outlandish. So what you're doing, and it looks innocent or whatever, it's young kids, police recruits and whatnot. The thing is, you shouldn't be complicit in any sort of paramilitary or police training. You're a Western nation that's allied or aligned with Western nations for national security interests and for the security interests of those countries that are your friends, like the U.S.
Sure.
And what you've done is trained upwards of 2,000 police, which are tasked with going to crack down on the human rights problems, not crack down, participate in the human rights problems that China's complicit in, like in Hong Kong, like you said.
Yeah.
So you're sending over you're training the police with advanced Western techniques, sending them back so they can go kill people and mess with people and
do bad things,
be horrible, right? Whether that's loosely tied or tightly tied or not, it's still a thing. That's still something that's happened.
I think it's preposterous to think that the Chinese police don't know how to police their own country anyway.
Right.
So I honestly think that the reason they're there is it's kind of a bit of a covert operation. Like, why else would they be there? They're learning techniques, and that's supposed to be the reason, is they want to learn all these law enforcement techniques. But you've got actual Chinese police recruits in Canada, living there, studying there, doing all this stuff. These are people that are a security risk. So I see it from that point of view.
And they're tied to the police force,
obviously,
of China.
And they're tied to the government and everything. And they even said state officials and stuff have taken part.
It's not just a rando student.
It's kind of like if you brought in, I don't know, American spies to train them spycraft in China. It doesn't make sense, right? No. Or you're bringing it's just bizarre. It's again one of these situations where the free world is being taken advantage of by China because we're too open and we're too happy to say, yeah, come, we'll help you out, we'll train you.
Would you train North Korean police?
No, because you know that they're going back and doing bad things.
So why is that different?
Exactly. It's dumb.
Why do people always have to separate and think North Korea and China are completely different? And like, haha, North Korea, that's that oppressive place. China's literally has the same tenets of society and the way that the government runs, very similar processes. And the problem is that you get diluted because they have money, whereas North Korea doesn't. Yeah. Apparently, oppression when you're poor, now that's bad. Yeah. But oppression when you're a wealthy country, now that's fine.
Totally fine.
That's totally fine.
Anyway, I just think it's our duty to bring this kind of thing to light because I feel that the majority of Canadian people weren't aware that their government is training the Chinese police. Maybe talk to your local... I don't know what you would call it in Canada, but your local representative.
You know who's probably not very happy about this?
What?
The Chinese Canadians that ran away from China.
Yeah.
Imagine they open the newspaper and see
the
Chinese police are training in Canada.
It's
the police they're fleeing from. Oh my!
It just boggles the mind. Anyway, so yeah.
Anyway,
I think that's all we have for what's new, right?
Yes.
So let's answer a couple of super chats and we'll continue.
Yes. I missed a couple from our previous thing. Which what you can do is you can email us and we'll put it in the next stream.
Yeah, we apologize. There were probably two...
I think I can actually probably dig them up, but I'll do it later.
Okay, yeah.
Madrox303, beer and parts money. Curious if either you saw the Frontline PBS 90-minute special on China this week. I did, and I watched it yesterday. It was very good, actually.
Really? I haven't seen it.
Yeah, definitely watch it. It's like the origins of coronavirus.
Excellent, yeah.
It's called a COVID cover-up or something. Anyway, I saw it. A bunch of you guys sent it to me.
Excellent.
PBS is great. Tornado Brick. America was a Chinese invention from ancient times.
Yeah, everything was.
That's correct. Mm-hmm. Case closed 93. You guys said on China Unscripted, sorry, that you were in Hong Kong at the same time as them in 2014. But Tim Pool's co-host, Luke, was also there. Maybe you passed each other. That's great.
It's entirely possible.
We were banking on you guys bringing up Tim Pool again.
Yeah.
Tim Pool, we're waiting.
Yeah,
we're waiting.
Haven't heard.
We got our beanies ready.
Yep.
All dusted off.
There we go. I took a lot of photos during that whole 2014 thing, so I could dig it up. I know that I do have photos of some pretty famous French reporters and stuff that were there, and one particular lady is very famous as a journalist and
You're
stuff.
just as famous as them now.
Maybe. Whatever.
I got a picture of you. I had a picture of
No, I'm
myself.
just saying there's a possibility I've got a
Sure.
picture of someone in the background
That's
there.
great.
Yeah.
Josh Ortiz is my friend, actually. Cheers, mates. Can't wait till we kick it again. Hopefully meet Winston. Cool.
Yeah, that'd be
Can't wait
good.
to see you, Josh. All right, let's keep going.
Well, guys, it's time for Soft Power Hour. This is our main segment of the show where we talk about how China is changing your mind and you don't even know about it. Usually.
Well, yeah.
Well, then most of the time you
Let's
can't.
not just assume. Maybe
Sure.
there's some hyper-aware people out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
You mind if I kick off on this one?
yeah, you go ahead. What's happening?
I just want to read you a quote.
Okay, let's read this quote.
This is from China.
China's quote. Listen to China's quote.
Now let me set the stage here. The WHO, after 1 year, it's
1
been
year.
1 year, we're finally allowed to have an envoy to go look into the lab, the Wuhan Institute of Virology,
Yeah.
the one that I still am even nervous to talk about because of the amount of traction my video generated. It's
Yeah.
caused some serious waves out there in the world.
Yep.
Now I've been claiming this since the entire time,
Mm-hmm.
and then people in the beginning were like either on my side or they're like that's ridiculous, blah blah blah. But it seems to be pointing towards that more and more these days, to
Yeah.
the point where the WHO had to go and look at it. So it's taken a year for them to be allowed. First few times when they tried to appeal, they got their visas denied. There's some visa problems. Obviously, we know what was happening.
Yeah.
China's used a year to sweep up every connection person, any tie to this, right?
Yeah, scrub down all the
Scrub down the
facilities.
facilities, obviously, like
The wet market's been like paved over and
metaphorically and literally.
yeah, exactly.
Scrubbed down. So what happened was the WHO was allowed back in, right? Now the thing is, were they? Because we're gonna go through some photos here, and we'll actually show you what happened. Let me read you China's quote.
Yeah, read the quote.
It should be noted that virus traceability is a complex scientific issue. Now, excuse me if I interrupt this. That is, and that's why it's of utmost importance that you allow investigators to go in there and see what's going on. Not to say,
yeah.
China, this is your fault. To say, hey, guys, this happened here, and we need to see what happened, what it's made of, and we can have the world join together
Yeah.
and maybe fight this. We could have had a vaccine a long time ago.
Oh, hell yeah.
We could have figured out the origins and actually talked about future prevention.
Oh, we would have
could have
known
shut
how
down
it
borders.
spreads easier. We
could
would have
known
prevented the spread.
transmissibility.
Yeah.
Yes. And we need to provide sufficient space for experts to conduct scientific research. This is them saying, yeah, we'll let you guys in,
Yeah.
Wang said. China will continue to cooperate with the WHO in an open, transparent, and responsible manner and make its contribution to better prevent future risks and protect the lives and health of people in all countries. Is this what transparency looks like?
No, this is what this looks like is you may only see what we allow you to see, and we're keeping an eye on you to make sure you don't see the things we don't want you to see.
Yep.
That's what it
There's
looks like.
quite a few pictures here. They're quite telling of what's going on.
Yeah.
This is one of the directors of the WHO.
Yeah.
Drinking a Watson's seltzer water.
Soda water, yeah.
Talking to some people on the phone.
Can I just point out the quality of the air, by the way?
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
They're choking on the pollution there, of course.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Foggy pollution.
Yeah.
Typical central China weather. This is our transparency and our openness.
Yeah, the one
That
Institute of
is
Virology.
the most like Silent Hill, like plague ass thing I've ever seen. Like that to me, this is probably very much linked to where this came from, this whole pandemic. And to see these kind of photos, like recent
Yeah.
photos outside, go to the next one. This is transparency, guys. This is
Yeah.
transparency.
Yeah, you're not allowed to take a photo. See, he's got a gold chain on.
Of course, dude.
Interesting, isn't
a little kickback here, huh?
Well, no, like
I'm
that's
joking.
no. I mean, it's probably just his own personal jewelry or whatever. But he's supposed to be a security guard or police actually, and so
Why is he wearing?
yeah, you don't wear that when you're
Is
on
he security
duty.
police? I can't see his badge.
Yeah, maybe we can see a picture there. It's definitely a police badge on the side.
Yeah, it is.
It's hard to tell which division.
Anyway, yeah, these are police.
Yeah.
So this is transparency and openness. You guys had a year
Mm-hmm.
to deal with this and cover it up. Any responsible nation where this had come from, number one, would have allowed investigative, not journalists, investigatory scientists to be able to go and deal with this and save the world, really.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what side you are in this argument. Like China didn't really cover this. They didn't know any better in the beginning. It doesn't matter if you believe that or not.
Yeah.
They had a year to figure this out, right?
Well, I mean, let me put it this way. A woman walks into my room,
Right.
okay? I close and lock the door. People hear screams
Sure.
of murder behind the door, and she never comes out.
Sure.
So people knock on the door, and they're like, listen, we need to find out what happened to her. Can we come in to take a look and investigate? We think you killed her. And you're like, just wait a minute. And you say, just come back next year.
Yeah.
So I've got a whole year to dispose of the body, clean up, scrub the walls, repaint.
Make sure that anyone that heard is not there.
Yeah, run like a UV sterilization, do everything. And then when I'm finally happy, when I am satisfied that I've hidden all
Only
the
you,
evidence, only when I'm happy, then I'm like, okay,
Come
you
on
guys,
in.
come on in, see, what are you talking about? Nothing happened
You
here.
painted everything over.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happened here.
And the problem is, China is basically saying to the world, look at how amazing we are to let the WHO in to come and do their investigation after a year, right?
Yeah.
The first time that they let the WHO in, they didn't even let them go to Wuhan.
I know.
They went to like Guangzhou and stuff.
Yeah, and they
ate
went.
dim sum.
Yeah, they went and ate feasts and things.
While like China was like suffering amongst this horrible lockdown and stuff. Anyway, my point is, during this year time, they finally say, we allow the WHO to come in and check this out. But by the way, we're going to spread upwards of 20 rumors from the state mouthpiece that it didn't even originate here anyway.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, come here and investigate. By the way, we're so awesome for letting you do so, but we're going to completely lie to the world and say it came from the U.S. military.
And especially to their own population.
Seafood.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Always excuses that it's come from Italy and like the U.S. military and, from Australian frozen beef or whatever. There's
So why
always
didn't
some
you let
crap.
us go? Why didn't you let us go into the Wuhan Institute of Virology in the beginning?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, it's too late. This whole thing is a farce. It's a facade. And again, it's just China playing a little game.
I think this just shows you where it came from, guys.
Yeah.
It came from Wuhan.
Yes.
It
We all
doesn't-
know it comes from
It
Wuhan.
comes from Wuhan. Is that difficult to understand?
Yeah.
Apparently it's too hard.
Even in the beginning, even the Chinese authorities were calling it the Wuhan flu.
Yeah, 'cause
It
it's
came
from
Wuhan.
there.
Yeah. And then they were like, wait, we got to shift the blame. We can't look bad here. It's dumb.
Jeez.
Yeah, I love this.
This
See,
is one of the greatest photos I've seen.
look
in
at
a
the
long
back.
time.
It just says Zhongguomeng, which means
with the Wuhan
Yeah,
Institute
exactly.
of Virology.
which means Chinese dream. Because China has
They stole
this
the American dream.
propensity to copy things, right? Including ideas like the American dream. So they have to have the Chinese dream.
Yeah, I mean the Chinese government literally copied that. That's
Yeah, they did.
Xi Jinping thought.
Mhm.
Xi Jinping thought came up with the Chinese dream, 中国梦,
Xi
which
Jinping-
means
What?
which
Yeah.
means moderate prosperity.
Yes.
He didn't let people be like, yeah, let's get rich and like we can do anything
Yeah.
we want. They're like that's the American dream. You
Sure.
can do anything you want. The Chinese dream is you can't really do that much.
Yeah,
We
just-
get to this level, you'll be all right.
Just kind of do a little bit. Yeah,
Right.
get a little bit wealthy. Moderate prosperity.
And apparently,
Yeah.
the Wuhan Institute of Virology releasing coronavirus.
You'll often find this has reminded me of some of the places I've been to in China where, China does have a pollution problem. Okay, if you try to say, you can say, oh look, it's just the weather. Maybe it's winter or whatever. But yeah, it may be fog, but clinging in that fog is pollution too. But you'll go to some of these beautiful spots where they have these amazing scenery spots, but because of the heavy industry in the area, it ruins it. You go there and it's just polluted, right?
Sure.
So you'll often see they'll have like a billboard up there, like a big poster of what it looks like on a good day.
Right.
Like a big lake.
Sure.
So they'll have a massive poster that has blue skies and a big lake for you to go and take a photo in front of that.
Right.
To say, I was there. Because
Right.
you can't actually see the attraction.
hilarious.
This just reminds
it's
me
also
of that.
sad.
I'm just saying.
I just want to say one more thing.
sure.
I personally think that the coronavirus came from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. That's my personal opinion.
Sure.
I am not a scientist, nor am I a real journalist, right?
Sure.
The thing is, all the evidence that I saw pointed towards that. However, I'm not here to convince you of that.
No.
What I'm trying to say is that it doesn't matter where you think it came from at this point. What matters is that during the initial stages of the outbreak, we know, like even if you don't believe it's from Wuhan,
Sure.
the initial outbreak happened in Wuhan. We can
Yes.
all agree on that, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And what my point of this entire thing is during those initial stages, we needed the most transparency possible, and that's something that China didn't give us. And this whole cover-up the entire time, the finger pointing and all this kind of stuff, and the theories, just keep drilling at home all of these theories that we had to guess at in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens when you're not transparent, when you lie all the time as
Yeah.
a government, when you have to lie and completely betray people's trust over and over again, people are going to keep going back and pointing the blame at you.
Yeah.
Because it's probably the case.
It
Right.
definitely came from Wuhan.
Right.
100%.
My point is, you can come up with your own conclusions,
Sure.
but China was very irresponsible in the way that it allowed the world to try to figure out what was going on in the beginning.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, that's
So,
that. The whole point of that
yes.
was that on day 2 of the visits, on the entourage,
Yeah, wait for this. This is great.
on day 2, the WHO was allowed into Wuhan.
Yeah.
On day 2 of their tour, they were tasked with seeing museums all day.
Yeah.
Not the virology lab.
Yeah.
They had to go to museums.
Not the kind of museums you think. It's
No.
not like, look, this is
Like
what kind of
the
museum?
first dinosaur in the area. No. There was museums about China's successful response to the coronavirus pandemic.
Yeah, so it was a museum about like, this is what we did to defeat the coronavirus. We started here, we went there. That's the museums they were taken to. So once again, it's just a bunch of bullshit. They're taking these WHO people, trying to brainwash them by showing them all this like stuff about how well they took care of the situation. It's how China does things. They're like, no, this is how we did it, and this is what you're going to learn. This is what you're going to report back to the rest of the world. You know, you're not actually here to discover and learn anything by yourself.
No.
And you're only going to see what we allow you
Such a
to
slap
see.
in the face, really.
And at the end of the day, we all know that the WHO has been compromised by Beijing anyway.
Yeah.
We saw
At
the
least its top
response.
leaders,
Yeah,
I
we
think.
saw the response in the beginning and how much they praised China and refused to, you know, put any kind of scrutiny on China and just constantly call everyone racist for even trying to say it's coming from China. We know the WHO is compromised. So you've got a compromised institute going in to a very controlled situation
For a year that's been covered up.
to try and figure out what's going on, but they're being told what is going on and they're being shuffled around like chess pieces.
Yet we're supposed to trust what's going to come out of this?
I think our audience and most people in the world, I would hope, are smart enough to see that whatever reports we get coming back from the WHO is you're going to have to take it with a pinch of salt, basically.
Yeah, well, I don't think anything is going to come out of it other than praise for China.
Yeah.
Praise
we'll
for they're
find
going to go to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, come back home and say, "Oh, China did such a good job."
Pretty much, yeah. Now, actually, our main segment, and the reason you clicked on here, is about propaganda. I mean, look, this WHO thing is very much
for sure.
about propaganda. This is how China operates. But there's another big part of Chinese propaganda which really irks me very much, and I guess both of us, but it's their...
Apparently only you.
Well, yeah, it irks us a lot.
We very much hate
But
it.
it's their state propaganda media that's allowed to freely post Chinese propaganda in the Western world and has been for the longest time. Now, in China, you will find this narrative that Western media is just so biased. It's only anti-China, right? The West never says anything good about China.
We were talking about this the other day.
Yeah. It's dumb. Like, the thing is, in the West, you do have different kinds of media, and the media has freedom and autonomy to, in essence, attack their own governments.
Sure.
Like
we could do.
Yeah, like all the time. How many times have you seen like a caricature of Trump, like, in an unflattering light, or
Sure.
some kind of stupid thing about, Trudeau or whatever? There's
Sure.
tons of...
Or even local politicians.
Yeah, any leader, you'll
Sure.
find pictures being drawn as a donkey or,
Sure,
all that
whatever.
kind of crap. You can't do that in China.
No.
If you were to try and like draw a caricature of Xi Jinping as even Winnie the Pooh or something, if you were a Chinese media, you'd get destroyed. You'd get shut down.
Good
You'd
luck.
get put in jail. There's all sorts of things that would happen to you. You can't criticize the government. So it's kind of funny that they have this narrative, but at least in the West, you can find a semblance of balance. I know people will be like, oh, it's biased one way or the other.
It
But
doesn't matter. There's an
there
outlet
are-
for everyone.
Yes.
You can become that.
Yeah.
You can become that voice.
that's the thing is you do have biases, but you have opposing biases. And
Yes.
you have different media outlets that have different,
And
takes on things.
sorry to nitpick,
Yeah.
I'm using this as my tool
Sure.
today. To nitpick at that, let's say CNN or Fox. CNN and Fox are the great juggernauts of both sides, right?
Sure.
People like to claim that CNN is super far left and Fox News is super far right, when in fact, actually, they're not. They may be bullshit. They may be like as a whole, right?
Yeah.
But there's so many different facets of these news networks. You have opinion piece, editorials, all this kind of stuff that operate very differently from
Yeah.
each other. Number two, you have to have some sort of journalistic integrity. You can pick apart someone's argument,
Yes.
but that article needs to be written with journalistic integrity.
Yeah.
There are international standards where it has to be impartial to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Something that can't exist in Chinese media.
No, Chinese media is only biased, and it's biased one way. It's all about blaming the West and other countries for the problems in China and praising the Chinese government. And that's
There is
all
no
it can do.
criticism of the
And the
Chinese
thing is,
government.
it's all they can do.
Yeah, I mean,
they
it's not
don't,
their fault.
They don't have a choice. Chinese media may not say bad things about the Chinese government. They can't. It's just not
Right.
allowed, right? Because it's owned by the Chinese government. And that's every single media, newspaper, anything, is so under scrutiny. When I was working as a like a principal of a training center, okay, a pretty big training
Sure.
center. I had this idea that we would release like a newsletter for all our students once a week, right? It's pretty big. It was this big school, and they were trained adults and business people and stuff. And it was pretty high class. And what I thought was, how about we put together a really nice newsletter, and it could just have like some interesting things and some, whatever things related to the students, and they can learn stuff and all that kind of thing, and put in like student of the week or, that kind of thing. So I put the whole proposal together, and I took it to my boss, Chinese guy. And he was like, I'd love to do this, but in order for us to actually print this and give it out, we need to get the government censors to go through it. It has to be approved by the government.
Literally, one of the biggest branches of the Chinese government is the censorship board.
A freaking newsletter for a training center.
Dude, the censorship board sent the cops to my school.
Yeah.
Because I named it Manhattan American English. That was political. The censorship board doesn't just go through articles.
Yeah.
It goes through everything.
Yeah.
It's a huge branch of the government.
Absolutely. So you have to understand that anything coming out of China is 100% biased and only one way. Right. So there is no balance. Anyway, let's get back to Cgtn, because I hate Cgtn. The reason I hate Cgtn, I know you do too, but the reason I hate Cgtn is that it is being broadcast around the world with impunity. It's got headquarters in Washington, D.C.
In English.
Yeah, London. Cgtn is the English language version of CCTV. It actually changed its name in 2016. It used to be called CCTV International or something.
Right.
And now it's just called Cgtn. They try to move away because they realized CCTV also stands for closed circuit television, which is, like a monitoring system, which is exactly what they do. Anyway, they've got, operations in Washington, D.C., London, Kenya, Nairobi, various places. And all they do is push positive Chinese propaganda. That's their mission.
Right.
Okay? So it's supposed English language news, but it's all about propaganda. So it really annoys me that they're allowed to run around willy-nilly. This propaganda arm of the Chinese government is in all Western countries and on YouTube. So I made a video where I've been calling out some of these other foreigners that are more or less working for the Chinese government, putting out Chinese propaganda on their YouTube channels and denigrating the West at the same time. Okay? And this ties in, and I'll explain to you why. But Cgtn, not only do they have their own big YouTube channel and Twitter accounts.
It's everywhere.
It's on everything. It's on everything, right? This Chinese state media. It's been accused of propaganda and disinformation on behalf of the Chinese government, and also being accused of airing forced confessions. Right?
This is just what they've been nailed with from very on the surface allegations. It is just a state mouthpiece.
It is.
I really want people to know that logo. I mean, you wouldn't believe it how many people send me. I'm not joking.
Mm-hmm.
Will send me emails or messages on Patreon and stuff that will say, "Oh, did you see this? Like, this kind of goes against what you said." And they'll send me an article or a video from Cgtn thinking it's a Western news outlet.
No.
They don't understand because they'll get Western hosts.
Yeah.
They'll have Western guests on, right? They'll portray it as not being Chinese because the English version of CCTV, which is Chinese state media before, was very much, you look at it, you're like, that's CCTV, that's the Communist Party of China. Cgtn's trying to use, I hate this, psyops, but really psyops to make people not associate this brand Cgtn with the Chinese Communist Party. It is that. It is only that. It's the same thing.
It is exactly the same.
So whenever you see that, completely discount it out of your mind.
Yeah.
I mean, to the point where legally...
Yeah, on YouTube,
US,
if you watch any of their videos, it actually says underneath, it says Cgtn is funded in whole or in part by the Chinese government.
And that is, the Chinese government hated when this happened, by the way. You guys might think they put that there. No. It is a law in the U.S. If a news outlet is allowed to operate in the U.S., even if it's controlled by a foreign government, the problem is you have to disclose that, right?
Yeah.
So Cgtn, for the longest time, was operating under the guise, and still operates under the guise of it not being tied to the CCP.
Yeah, but it is.
It is. I mean, when you check their Instagram and stuff, you'll never know.
Sure.
Right? At least on YouTube, they're forced.
No, I'm not 100% sure, but somebody did tell me that this warning only appears if you're watching within the US.
Sure.
In other countries, it doesn't need to be displayed. That could be wrong. I don't know.
It's easy to check. We should have checked that.
Yeah, well, we can
anyway,
check it. Either way, the reason why we're bringing this up is, okay, it was only... sorry. Yeah. Yeah, it was only like a... What am I doing in the middle of us there? This was from my video where...
in between us.
Yeah. This is the video where I released... when I released a video talking about these foreigners that are more or less working for the Chinese government, okay? how did they try to defend themselves? They got China's largest English-speaking language state media to defend them.
I mean, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
What you just said, I think is the opposite.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure what happened was a lot of these guys get these paid government trips.
Yeah.
They do these fluff pieces. I mean, they're on the websites. Literally, it says the propaganda department of so-and-so city.
Yeah.
We invited the foreigners to make propaganda for our
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
Those all are tied into the central government, right?
Right.
And when somebody like yourself makes I'm not going to say an expose, just a very fair piece on what happened with all of the evidence.
Yeah,
in
it's all the
Chinese,
evidence is there.
right?
Yeah.
It's not speculation.
Can't dispute it. Yeah.
What I see happening here is that they got reached out to by Cgtn because what happens is just like your video title, they're protecting their assets, right?
They are protecting their assets.
You have to go and be like, yeah, well, maybe just in case some people saw this video by SerpentZA or whatever, the podcast with Laudi 6 and stuff, if they see them talking about them with proof or whatever, we just have to make sure that we have our piece out there that says, yeah, this totally didn't happen, and these people are so bad, and everyone that just says anti-China, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's more like they can't. I don't think they reached out. I don't think
you
they
think
reached out.
Cgtn reached out to them?
I would guess that.
I mean, I know that some of those guys have been tweeting at Liu Xin, this host.
Sure.
So, I mean, there is a connection.
There's for sure. Anyway, what I wanted to point out here was, I mean, Cgtn's like top of the pops, right?
Yeah.
And Liu Xin, this hostess that you may have seen before.
She's like a wolf warrior of note.
Yeah, she's like a wolf warrior, but she's famous for talking to Trish Reagan on that Fox News broadcast.
Right.
It was like one of the only times that China allowed like a live debate to be like broadcast within China or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's not important. What's important is that she's well known for being the face of English media in
Yeah, because her
China.
English is really good.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, she's married to a Turkish-German guy,
Sure.
and she's very well known.
She's been good at English.
Yeah,
for
you can
ages.
go look. She's this.
96
She
or
used to
something.
take part in English competitions.
She's very
and things,
talented.
she's very good at English, but she's 100% nationalist.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
you know,
she's
top of the
she's
pops
a
Communist
mouthpiece.
Party mouthpiece.
She's a
yeah.
mouthpiece
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
Communist
yeah.
Party. My point is, this is top of the pops, high budget stuff,
Yeah.
right? They got YouTubers who we know, right,
Yeah.
on the biggest English news broadcast.
Yeah.
To talk about something that's a non-issue,
Yes.
if I'm totally honest.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you pointing that stuff out was to educate people on YouTube
Yeah.
and people in the world that there are foreign people in China that are coerced or rewarded for promoting the Chinese government. It's
Absolutely.
as simple as that.
Yeah.
So you can educate people into taking things with a grain of salt or still consume their media, but having that knowledge, right?
Absolutely.
They had to put this on blast on one of the biggest news
Sure.
outlets. It's
It's
a
hilarious.
non-issue, guys. Right? If this is not a big deal to you, why are you signal boosting this?
And it just proved my point.
Yeah, and you're bringing more awareness to it, and then at the same time pouring salt in the wound. Because what you did was, this is Winston. I have enough evidence here to prove that these guys are working with the Chinese government. Case closed. Shut
Yeah.
the book on that. People might get over it and be like, okay, whatever.
Sure.
I'm not gonna watch these guys anymore, or I'm gonna kind of think about it a little bit.
Sure.
Nope. State media goes, let's open that book again.
Yeah.
Let's crack open that book and make sure there's as much spotlight on this
Yeah, I
as
know.
possible after it's already been proven
Yeah.
by state media signal boosting it.
Yeah.
I mean, how the irony is so rich, but I love what it says
Yeah,
here.
hashtag media's pro-China smear campaign.
Number one, that's not how you use a hashtag. That reminds me of when the dude in Cobra Kai calls it hash brown.
Yeah, sure.
Hash brown medias.
Yeah.
Wrong grammar there.
Yes.
Media's, I don't even know how to explain what that would be. It's like the media's thing.
Yeah.
Like the media owns hashtag
The pro-China smear
the
campaign.
pro-China smear campaign. So pro-China people are smearing media.
Yeah.
I don't understand. So there's a smear campaign from pro-China people.
Yeah.
So they're smearing.
Well, I think
I don't
what
understand.
they're trying to say is that media is trying to smear pro-China people.
Sure, that's a very, very
But
poorly
it's very
worded
badly
sentence.
put. Yeah, it's very poorly worded. Anyway, what was really hilarious about all of this is when they put this out. And we're going to get to our point in a minute, okay? Because
Sure, there is a point.
we're leading up to something. Please, when they did, when they did
Headline Buster. Lol. That's what the show's called.
it's called what?
Headline Buster.
Yeah, it is. It's called Headline Buster.
What is that?
Anyway, here's the thing. Let's just take us out. I want you to see what happened. Remember,
Sure.
this is China's. We're gonna
Yeah, turn
hear
it
this.
up, yeah.
We are going to see what happened on China's largest English language speaking state media. Okay.
By the way, this is the interview with the pro-China YouTubers.
Yes.
Talking about how they are not complicit in this pro-China campaign.
Yeah. Listen to this.
Exactly what happened? I don't hear you. Opinions. What happened? All right, we're not able to hear you. I'm sorry, Lee, we're not able to hear you somehow. About request for your opinion. Did you respond? Well, unfortunately, because of technical issues, we can't get the audios out for whatever reason. We do this every week, but somehow this week it just doesn't work. Much apologies. I'm really sorry. I don't know what happened. Obviously, Beijing is not very savvy in pushing out his propaganda, I guess, for some people.
Yeah, well, there. I love the fact that she admitted that Beijing's not savvy at pushing out its propaganda.
Yeah. That's probably my favorite part is like, and I honestly think she may have had a little talking to about that because what that insinuates is that your program is propaganda.
Yes.
That's what you just said.
Yeah, you said that we're not good at doing it because the audio didn't work. Yeah. Anyway, it's just hilarious that happened. But now, the whole point of bringing this whole Cgtn thing up, and the whole title of this video, is based around the fact that the UK has just blocked Cgtn from being broadcast within the UK. Well done. Now, there's a reason for this.
Tip of the fedora.
Yeah, well, that's whatever. In the UK, drink some tea and
Whatever
have a little
yeah.
top hat or
Sure,
whatever.
top hat, whatever.
Guys, what happened was, okay, the UK's got an archaic licensing system. It's the same as South Africa. You actually have to have a TV license in order to own a TV. Because you pay and it's like a
Clearly that's
monthly
gone
thing.
now.
No, it hasn't.
Oh.
If you don't have a TV license, you get a fine. But there's a way around it. If you get the TV tuner section of your TV taken out of your TV, like physically removed by a repair shop or something, then you don't need to pay a TV license.
But there's no TV tuners now. It's all digital.
I know it's digital, but whatever. Any kind of state broadcast stuff, you're basically
Oh,
paying a tax to pay for
okay.
because we've got SABC 1, 2,
Sure,
3.
sure.
It's like South African Broadcast Corporation 1, 2, 3.
It's like
You pay.
BBC.
It's like BBC.
Yeah.
It's based on that model. Anyway, any kind of TV program or I should say something like Cgtn, state broadcaster, they have to meet a certain amount of rules before they're allowed to broadcast within the UK. So how about we read what we said, what we wrote down there? It says
So this one?
Cgtn has been blocked from broadcasting in the UK. Let's see. The UK regulators have pulled the broadcasting license from Cgtn. The investigation concluded that the license is wrongfully held by Star Chinese Media Limited, so not Cgtn. They did not have editorial responsibility over the channel, and Star Chinese Media was just acting as a distributor and not a provider, so kind of like an agent for Cgtn.
Sure.
So it was basically operating illegally.
Yeah, well, before people think this is like a hit against Cgtn, no, because the regulators rejected a proposal from Cgtn to operate under a new entity after transfer, but it was rejected because they came to the conclusion that would have still been controlled by the CCP. So what happened was this investigation is what opened the can of worms, really. And the reason that you can't have a news channel operated by the CCP,
by the Chinese Communist Party government,
is because the rules, I'm just quoting this, require impartiality, accuracy, and protection of privacy. So previously Cgtn had breached multiple times impartiality standards of their coverage of Hong Kong protests and other stuff as well.
So basically, when Cgtn covered the Hong Kong protests, they covered it one-sided, only from the point of view of the government, because in the UK, you have these impartiality laws. So if you are going to be biased to one side, that's fine, but you still have to air the other side of the argument. So even though you're like pro-government and you're like, the government's so bad, they're being attacked and stuff, you still have to go and like interview the protesters and find out why they're protesting. But with CGTN's coverage, it was one-sided only.
Well,
the Hong Kong protesters are bad, the government's good. That's all they said, right?
Right. Well, just like this is only one example, but it's just like when the Western media covered the Hong Kong protesters, the reader or the viewer knows why the people are protesting and also knows why the Chinese government doesn't like the protests, right? They both know why both sides are happening.
Yeah.
Whereas CGTN or CCTV will never once even come close to airing the opinion of the other side. Not even fair or unfair. They won't even touch it. It's just that
they only try to explain them away as being like I don't know, like troublemakers, or they have
no interviews or anything.
They will have their explanation as to why these people are doing it, which is incorrect. But they won't actually put forth the real reason.
Sure. So they broke these standards. They've also broken other standards.
I mean, the fact that they pretty much aired a forced confession, on CGTN and didn't give the guy a chance to retort or to reply to it or whatever. They've done a bunch of things which have broken rules in the past before. They have been investigated in the past before. But now finally, because they were not representing themselves, they were kind of, being distributed under an agent. They've been shut down, and they're still shut down.
And let me tell you why that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Now, before you guys run and start saying, "Oh, C. Milk and Winston are pro-censorship in this case,"
no.
It is actually the opposite. It's actually this is a triumph for freedom of media and a triumph to stamp out censorship. Because, in my honest opinion, I believe that everyone should have an opinion and everyone should be able to broadcast that opinion. But why is a country with no journalistic integrity and no freedom of speech and no freedom of press, so the media effectively operates as a mouthpiece for that government, that oppressive government, why is that allowed to operate in other countries with impunity when that country can't reciprocate and allow other countries' media inside as well?
Sure.
Right? So to me, it doesn't make any sense. To me, to censor CGTN, to censor CCTV is a good thing.
Yeah.
Because what you're doing is you're cutting off the head of the snake of misinformation.
Yeah.
Misinformation coming from a government that wants the death of your own country,
Absolutely.
by the way, or at least the complicit in the takeover of it in terms of assets and soft power and education and censorship.
Yeah.
You're cutting off the head of a snake that operates with bases and offices in your country using the freedom of speech, freedom of journalism, freedom of movement, freedom of press, all of these things that are offered by Western countries.
Which are not offered within
China.
China.
That are not offered within China. And then that country cuts off all media access to your country as well.
Yeah.
So it makes absolutely no sense why that's allowed to operate. Number two, you're also stopping the unbelievable, unfettered flow of soft power in the English language that does convince and trick people. Most people don't know CGTN is a Chinese government operative.
Sure.
It is just a state mouthpiece.
Yeah.
So when you cut off that, you're preventing disinformation, really.
That's
because
right,
there is only one avenue. It's only disinformation able to come out of CGTN.
Correct.
Really.
Yeah. Other than like fluff pieces about
of course.
tourism or look at this art thing or something.
Sure.
But yeah, anything that's political coming out of there is 100% just Chinese state propaganda. So it's good because to allow an actual propaganda arm of the Chinese Communist Party to operate freely and with impunity within your country is never a good thing.
No.
And of course, China would never accept a Western propaganda arm to operate within the borders of China.
Yeah, imagine like
ridiculous.
the Washington D.C. like educational outlet news broadcasting.
Well, I mean, and before anyone says anything about CNN and stuff can be shown in China, it can't. No. Okay, CNN does broadcast a certain amount in China, but they censor it.
Yeah,
okay?
It's not the same as being allowed.
And it's never live.
No.
And sometimes you're watching some kind of segment of news in China and it cuts to blank. And
they
then
mostly
they
do that with Hong Kong stuff.
Yeah, with Hong Kong stuff that's being broadcast live. But basically, there is no reciprocation. There are no rules. Like, the CGTN can say whatever they want. They can curse at Trump. They can curse at Biden. They can do whatever they want. They can say, anything they want about any government.
They can say horrible remarks.
They can say terrible things about anything in the West, anyone, and it's totally okay. But there's no Western media that's allowed to broadcast in China that can say anything bad about Xi Jinping or the CCP or anything to do with Xinjiang.
You know what it is? It's not like if in English language media was allowed to reciprocate. It's like if me and you went over on behalf of the U.S. government to set up a Chinese language news network.
It has to be Chinese language,
in China
Yeah.
for the domestic Chinese populace
Imagine that.
to talk about how evil the CCP is.
Yes, and
how
how bad Tiananmen Square was. and-
everything.
Yeah.
Cover all those things, and then also cover the news with a bias towards American exceptionalism.
Yeah,
That's
so-
literally
yeah.
what it would be.
Look
in
at
Chinese.
how amazing. Look at this thing called electricity that was invented in America. See
Right,
how
it'd be
great
like
it is.
that. It's,
Yeah, you know,
we
cars.
could-
What about
with the same
airplanes?
journalistic integrity of
You know?
Cgtn?
Yeah, exactly. That's what it would be. It would
Right.
be like a Chinese language like media going out there explaining just about like, see that computer that's on your desk right there that you're using. That's a Western invention. See how great we are.
Right.
That's what China's doing with things like Cgtn. It's ridiculous. Look at our high-speed rails. Look at our amazing infrastructure. Look at what we've done to fight COVID. And that's what they're. It's
One
just
of the
dumb.
first things that happened actually in China was like when media news outlets were allowed to operate.
Hmm.
They basically had these. I would read books all the time about people that would work in the news cutting rooms in Beijing and stuff.
Yeah.
Like whether they worked for New York Times or whatever they were. What would happen is they would work in these offices, but they would barely ever get access to have journalists endeavors to go out and cover stories
Sure.
in China.
Sure.
And when they were, they had an entourage of people that would censor them, block them, tell them what they can and can't say.
That's right, yeah.
And number two, what they would do is they made a law so that it was illegal to hire a Chinese journalist. So a foreign news company like CNN or Fox or whatever, they can't hire a Chinese correspondent with a Chinese ID card, national ID card, because that gives them too much access to
Correct.
the Chinese market to
Yeah.
figure out what's happening in China. Now it's all been shut down.
Yeah.
There's pretty much no American journalists left.
No, there's no point.
in
Like you
China.
can't. You watched
Well,
like
they
a
got
hawk.
kicked out.
Yeah, you watch like a hawk. You can't report on
Yeah, if you want to
anything.
do journalism in China, go on a tourist visa
Yeah.
and stay under the radar.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
the only
look,
thing you can
look
do.
Chinese
Yeah.
and then fly under the radar and you can get stories.
Yeah, I mean the fact that we managed to get away with what we did for so long is it was a grey
You
area.
can never do that now.
No, not now. It's if you're going to be on YouTube in China right now, you can only be very positive about China. It's the only thing you can do.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's kind of ridiculous.
Why is everyone saying they want ice cream?
It's because of our damn ice cream truck.
Okay. I wanted to freak them out.
Yeah,
That's our side biz.
yeah, exactly. We just have a sound bite that we play every once in a while of an
Yeah.
ice cream truck.
That's very true.
Anyway, guys, we're going to do some super chats before we move on. You know, the point of this is I'm very happy to see some steps being taken towards putting an end to this blatant propaganda that's out there. Cracks are forming. People are starting to see that this massive propaganda machine has been in motion for years now,
Yeah.
on our shores, in our schools, on our media, and of course here on YouTube and other social medias, which are completely
We're
banned
getting, we're
and
getting
forbidden.
drowned out
Yeah.
compared to how much stuff comes out of China now.
I made that video about SerpentZA just to explain that it's not real. Okay, that's
Right.
not what China really is like in the rural areas. And while I don't have anything against her or the videos that are produced, because it's obviously a professional team and they look good and they show good stuff, it's positive. My point is that she is posting on a platform that is banned and forbidden by her own government in her own country. And this shows you the hypocrisy, because they're more than happy for that to be out there. In fact, they're probably responsible for it to be out there. Because it's serving their purpose.
Right.
So the Chinese government will unscrupulously just use any tool at its disposal to spread its message out there, even if it goes against its own rules.
Right.
It's one of those like do as I say, not as I do type
That's
things.
the definition of China.
Yeah.
It's completely, there's laws, but only when they need to enact them
Yeah.
to suppress free speech, really.
Correct.
If it goes against the CCP. If it's promoting the CCP, it's allowed to be rampant. And
Yeah, you
rewarded. It's rewarded.
You can break the law as much as you want to,
Yeah.
as long as, it's like the fact that you've got a convicted drug addict felon that works as propaganda, a foreigner who works as propaganda for the CCP.
Right.
Whereas a drug felon convicted for the same things that he did in the States would have been executed in China.
China.
It just shows you the double standards there.
Right.
I'll make a video about that
if
in the
it,
future.
If it serves a purpose that they're allowed to
Yeah,
try.
exactly. So let's hit some super chats and we'll
Cool.
move on to the next segment.
Mo Bahar says CCP backing the coup in Myanmar. Surprised or not? Absolutely not. Anything that undermines democracy, China is very happy. Yeah. Why do you think the West is very angry at what happened to the democratic elections and the seizure of their president?
Yeah.
Why do you think they're so upset about that? when China is so happy about a military-backed coup. It's because China loves when it has a chance to seize political stability. They can be the political stabilizing force in the region, right?
Sure.
And the military in Myanmar and Burma is much closer to the CCP than it is to anything else.
Sure.
They're very much more willing to capitulate to China. Imagine China getting the land and the people. Can you imagine that? It's like completely undermining democracy in the region.
Yeah, more
So not surprised.
military bases and ports
Yep.
and things. Yeah.
Jay Liu, Xi Jinping is like Chancellor Emperor Xi Palpatine. Do you agree?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A little bit, actually, though. Palpatine was more law-abiding. See, the Empire is all about the laws, right? It's effed up.
I'm
but
just thinking Jabba the Hutt.
That's what I'm thinking.
I'm
Jabba
just
the
thinking
Hutt's more
Jabba the
like
Hutt.
you think China is a law-abiding place, but it's less like the Empire, more like Jabba's Empire,
Yeah,
because it's a criminal organization,
Yeah,
really.
correct.
Jonathan Case, of course, YouTube, you still haven't fixed this.
YouTube hasn't fixed a lot of things.
The old snap.
Especially
issue.
like allowing Chinese state media to run rampant on their platform
Yeah.
and undermine other people's opinions.
Yeah, for sure. Jonathan Case says, answer our questions and question our answers.
Yes,
You guys should teach John Circleback Girl Sky that.
she could use it. I'm not sure who that is.
Don't know who that is.
Yeah, but yeah,
For
thanks
sure.
for the advice.
Robert Finch, keep up the good work, chaps. Here's a few quid for a beer, Aussie wine fun. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Jeremiah Johnson, are silver bullets back on that video? They're never gone.
Yes, they totally are.
If not, use this for fuel on the next trip. Hope things are resolved enough this year. I'd also like to get back to Japan for a visit. Thanks for all the info.
Yeah,
You're very
absolutely.
welcome.
We've got such a big Japan trip and India trip planned.
Can't
It's
wait.
not even funny. As soon as we can.
So sorry, JPN. Australia has a new TV show partially on the biosecurity rules. Border Security Australia's Frontline.
Oh,
You
dude,
watched that.
I watch that all the time. And specifically, when I used to train doctors, I specifically took episodes of that to show them.
Yeah, because you don't want them to get in trouble.
You often see in that whatever Australia frontline security, border security thing, they're often stopping passengers who are trying to bring in lots of food and like weird TCM things. It's always Chinese people coming from China or Chinese students, Chinese Australian citizens that are Chinese born and stuff. But you always see this, and they'll open some like auntie's bag, and she'll have declared no food or whatever, but she'll have literally a supermarket's worth of Chinese snacks and like, what do you call those things, like biological things that you're not supposed to.
Like plants and stuff.
Yeah, tons of like plants and vegetables and things that they're not allowed to bring in. It's definitely something that's very much part of Chinese culture, is taking food with you. When I was training that same group of doctors, I've told this before, but it blew my mind when I was asking them, what are you going to take with you when you go to Australia? Because this particular group was going to Australia. And the one guy who must have only been like a couple of years older than me, he was like, my mother, okay, this guy's like 40 or whatever, 38, 40. It's like, my mother is forcing me to take a bag of Chinese rice and, bottles of Chinese cooking oil, because she doesn't think that we'll be able to find the food in Australia that's good for our Chinese bodies. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm sure you can get good rice and oil in Australia. In fact, I know it's better quality, to be honest,
Of course.
But that's the thing. There is this thing about bringing your home food and medicine and stuff. So often people will take huge amounts of just instant noodles, and because they think it's cheaper. And
Riddle me this.
What?
Why do so many Chinese tourists, and again, this is not, I'm not trying to say and assume anything, but why do so many Chinese tourists like to go shopping outlets for food and like milk powder and eat a lot of food products, chocolates, things like this, but then think that it's not good to eat those things? I don't understand. Because then they bring in their own domestic products.
No, it's not that. Like chocolates and stuff's a luxury. It's different.
Sure,
it's not like the
something you're
staple
eating
foods.
all
It's not
day.
noodles
That's
or rice or
true.
whatever.
Good point.
But the whole point of fact of the matter is, I used that show you're talking about as training material to show them, when you travel, make sure you don't have these kinds of things in your luggage, and you must declare if you have food. You have to do it, because if they catch you and you didn't declare it, you will get a fine. That kind of thing. And it actually helped out, because they They actually had to deal with customs when they went over. Yeah.
Next is David Pay. I was talking to a guy at the Citadel outlet. Oh, that's that one in LA, with an empty suitcase at Coach He told me he flies in the morning and flies back at night. By the way, coach outlets take WeChat and HeliPay. Yep.
Interesting.
That's the old Daigo at work.
Mm-hmm.
Stan Pett says, hopefully Shinny the Pooh doesn't send Agent 47. He already did, look at him.
Yeah, there we go.
Or maybe they already did and he works for YouTube, yep.
Yeah.
Also, loving the weekly pod. Bring Tim on, please.
Yeah.
I don't know what that says. But I can read the second character. It says yuan, which means like willing in Chinese.
What says or something?
I can only read the one Chinese character, and there's the only thing I can read. The rest of the Japanese, I don't know.
It says or something shimasu.
Oh.
Ishimasu. I don't know what the second character is because it's kanji, and I always get confused because, like you, I can read the Chinese.
Yeah, I can
It's
read the
messed me
Chinese
up.
characters, but I can't read
So
the Japanese.
it's like
stuff.
oyen ishimasu, whatever it is.
That's funny.
Yeah. What's next?
Anyway, let's just go on to
Okay.
the last bit.
We're going to go on now into world news or worldview, guys. And worldview is where we talk about things that are happening in the world, but specifically with regards to China, or at least something to do with China. And we're talking about milk tea slap.
Hey, we don't know what happened. Allegedly, we
know exactly what
have
happened.
No idea what happened.
There is a
Allegedly.
video.
No, this
It's-
is a picture.
Yeah.
And you guys, whatever you think is happening in this picture, it might be true, might be not. It's up to you, allegedly.
It absolutely is true. But
Nope,
yeah,
nope.
when you read it in the Australian newspaper, they're like,
YouTube doesn't.
an
Nothing happened here.
alleged assault took place. Meanwhile, in the newspaper article you're reading online, there's this dude is like slapping the crap out of this woman.
You know why this?
Yeah,
is.
of
It has
course.
to go through court.
It has to go through
That's
court.
the law.
So anyway, this is a 20-year-old trainee student who was working in a bubble tea shop, but she was like a trainee, and so she hadn't been paid for her time working as a trainee yet. And she had got into an argument with her boss, which is the guy with the glasses, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So she was having an argument with her boss, and this other guy who's just a business associate of the boss, not her boss or anything, just stepped in and slapped the crap out of her. So he,
We're not going to show this, but
no, we want. You can look it up. It's
YouTube,
it's
don't
very
get
easy to
mad.
find. It's easy to find. So he really slapped her big time, right? And then
gave her a good crack.
yeah, big time.
It's awful.
Then she kind of fell down, and then she threw her bag at him, missed, and then went to try and like
And then they pushed her
attack
down
him, and
again.
then he kicked her in the stomach back down to the ground. And another girl who came to try and help her also got whacked to the ground. All the time in front of young children and
Yeah.
other clients that were in the bubble tea shop.
Right.
Now, this is not all that uncommon in China.
Okay.
This, you know,
Can I say something?
Sure.
We are not covering things like petty disputes like this and
Sure.
horrible slapping cases in Australia. The reason we're doing this is because the reason this happened in Australia is because of how common it happens in
it's
China.
It's something that happens quite often. You know, whenever you get disputes, it's quite often that it gets physical in China.
Yeah.
We've witnessed it
Yeah.
many times ourselves, and it can be
Oh, a lot of
man
women
on man. It
slapping.
can be
It is a
against
lot of
women.
women slapping,
Yeah,
though.
okay, it does happen a lot. Okay, but the difference is because this was in Australia. Unfortunately for our serial slapper, because I'm pretty sure he does this a lot, because you don't just come out of nowhere and slap a woman
Yes, he's practiced.
in front of children and stuff in public. He's now got an assault charge against him.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be going to court in May, so we'll follow it up when it actually happens. But you see, when you bring this mainland attitude with you when you go overseas, it can get you into trouble. It's like
Sure.
that couple that got
Yeah.
into that fight in
Yeah.
New York,
Yeah.
and then on the street outside their hotel, and they actually both got arrested.
Right.
It's just one of those things. It's quite common for these little altercations to break up.
Another thing I wanted to bring up, and we didn't put this in here, but there's a very disturbing video of a woman being kicked repeatedly by her husband, domestic abuse. He's
Yeah.
like wearing underwear. She put on her webcam just in time because she knew it was going to happen.
Right.
And the thing is, like, I saw the discussion about it in Chinese was like, this is awful, blah, blah. Obviously, people hate domestic abuse, and this is horrible. I absolutely hate it. The thing that bothered me, you thought I was going to say but, didn't I? No, I'm not a monster. This is disgusting.
Yeah.
The thing that bothered me was the discourse in English. So when I was reading this discourse in English, I'm not sure about this story, but that story was saying, like, oh, I can't believe this happened. Some people were saying this. I'm not joking. I can't believe this happened in China. Like, it's so much worse in America. This wasn't Wu Mao stuff. These were like Westerners saying this. They were saying, I can't believe that, there's so much domestic abuse in China. This video is so terrible. I thought this is much worse in America. Domestic abuse is so much worse in America. Are you sure this happened in China? I don't know where this idea is coming from.
It's dumb.
The amount of domestic abuse, the couple that lived next to me in Inner Mongolia, I had to call the police because I was so worried, but they said it was just a family issue.
Yeah.
The guy was slapping the crap out of his wife all the time. She was screaming bloody murder all the time.
Yeah.
And so I got the police involved, and they're like, that's none of your
It's
business.
a family issue.
Yeah.
This is people don't understand how bad it is for women in China. They really do have a lot of issues when it comes to
Domestic
equal
abuse.
rights, especially when it comes to domestic abuse. And you have like these terrible situations where women actually die from being beaten to death
Yeah.
by family members, not even by their husband, like the husband's parents and stuff. It's quite well. It's something. It's a phenomenon you can read about. I'm not saying it's like super common or anything. But the fact of the matter is, when it comes to domestic violence and these kind of things that happen in public, in China, the law doesn't step in.
No.
If anything, they might step in to mediate.
That's something that needs to change.
You know, they might be like, listen, guys, you know, just figure it out by yourselves. But they don't jump in there and arrest the guy for assault because it's seen as a domestic problem or a private concern or something. And that's how the Chinese police deal with things. Is they'll be like, okay, guys, calm down, go sort it out.
And if you're
you know.
well connected, it doesn't matter. If it does escalate to police activity, like to where the police have to get involved and there's a court case, you'll get away with it if you're the one that's connected.
Yeah.
They're not going to favor the poor person that was the victim,
You know,
unless they were rich.
here's another thing. I'm just going to talk about a buddy of mine who's going through a tough time in China right now. And I'm not going to name his name, and I'm not going to give out too many details because I don't want to spoil it. But an unfortunate situation has happened where a relative of his, he's a foreigner, and a close relative of his passed away in China. And acquaintances of his relative, Chinese acquaintances, conspired to steal all the money out of his relative's bank account.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and this is what happened. So he's a foreigner now. His relative has died. He's trying to deal with the funeral. He's trying to deal with the body. At the same time, he finds out that all of her money has been taken out of the bank account, been stolen by people he knows, acquaintances of his relative. He goes to the police station, and they're all like, sorry, that's a family matter. You have to sort it out. He's been to multiple police stations. He's tried his best to approach the law in any way, shape, and form. And they're either like, sorry, you're a foreigner, piss off, or that's a family private matter, deal with it yourself.
Right.
You know, and that's leading back to this. This is why you have this brazen attitude, because these people will be attacking someone like that and thinking, and he's thinking, it's not the law's business. It's no one's business.
It's family
This is
business.
our business.
It's
It's
my
my this is my business partner or something. This is a kind of a private thing we're dealing with.
Right.
And unfortunately for him, he's going to learn the hard way that it doesn't fly like that overseas,
No.
outside of China.
That's something that needs to change in China, but it won't. I mean, there's no rule of law to begin with,
Yeah.
so it's a shitty situation.
Yeah. So now we thought we'd take this horrible situation and end it on a lighter note. And we're going to talk about bubble tea. Because this happened in a bubble tea shop. By the way, that bubble tea shop is currently closed.
Yeah.
And
tea or something it's called.
yeah, and also, you know, what came out of this is it turns out that the boss has not been paying wages. It looks like allegedly, you know, as they like to say, allegedly has been basically doing slave labor where he gets international students to come and work and they're not paid
Yeah,
them.
that actually happens a lot, even in Chinese restaurants here. If you see
Yeah.
some young people, a lot of times they'll get hired on contract to just come over for a little while, and they
Yeah.
don't get paid fairly.
No, it's a thing. So it looks like his bubble tea shop might be in trouble, all because he allowed his little douche friend to kick around a young girl, 20-year-old girl. By the way, the guy who was arrested was 39 years old. You'd think that he'd have a little sense.
How about don't hit women?
Yeah, just don't kick them to the floor in the stomach and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about milk tea. This, I know you hate this stuff.
I don't know how to say. I have no. I lived in Taiwan for too long to the point where like my Taiwanese coworkers got this every single day, and it was like a tea run, and it would be a really big part of the ritual day, like part of the day. And I thought it was kind of cute and everything, nice that they did that. But number one, talk about diabetes.
Oh, yeah.
And number two, because it's literally you're drinking tapioca and sugar and fat water.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just, it's not even real fruit. They use powder and stuff to simulate fruit.
Real milk tea is in Taiwan. It's made of fruit, dude.
Yeah, well, you might get fruit in some of those.
You definitely do. It's a very important part of Taiwanese culture.
No, but but if you know that they stopped doing that because it doesn't last long.
No, but they mix the fruit in front of you.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
some of those have them. But
My point is,
general.
if you're a connoisseur like these
Sure,
women
yeah,
were, that
you
I was working
gotta
with,
like
it was
it.
that. But
Yeah.
the cheap milk teas everywhere. Anyway, the second reason I don't like milk teas, I just don't like it very much.
Sure.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I think it's important. I know people love it. So
When I was in in China, when one of the jobs I had, there was a really good milk tea shop downstairs.
Right.
And they made like a really good mango one that had mango and milk and
Yeah.
stuff. You know, so it was really nice. I enjoyed it. I liked it. And so me and coworkers, instead of, I don't smoke or anything. So instead of a smoke break, go down and get a milk tea.
obese,
yeah, exactly. Jeez, I mean, obviously in China it didn't affect me because I was walking so much and sweating. Imagine here, I'd look like Jabba the Hutt in a week. Anyway, the fact of the matter is,
Boba the Hutt.
yeah, Boba the Hutt.
Boba Fett.
Yeah, there we go. I'd be Boba Fett. That's right. So now there's a little bit of a story. You might want to know where this stuff comes from. Because I think a lot of people just see bubble tea, because it's quite a phenomenon. You see it around, and they're like, that's just some Asian thing. It comes from Taiwan, not China, not Japan, not any other country,
Singapore.
but the country of Taiwan. Okay, and it happened sometime during the 80s.
86.
It was 86? Well, Taiwan kind of went through a food revolution at some point. I know this because I grew up with some Taiwanese people.
Sure.
And if you've ever been to Taiwan, especially in the night markets, you'll see all these incredibly interesting snacks and foods.
And it's changing like fashion.
Yeah, and the way they prepare it,
Yeah.
you have guys basically juggling dough and doing all sorts of weird stuff. This was part of a planned revolution to make the food more interesting and stuff. And this came out of that. It used to be that people would just have like shaved ice, which I'm going to say is one of the most dumb desserts. It's literally shaved ice and they pour like a syrup on it or something.
I love you, Taiwan, but that is my second nightmare of Taiwan is people eating shaved ice all the time.
Shaved ice is lame. It's lame. It's freaking lame, okay?
Putting red beans and mango on top.
I know, on
Stop.
shaved ice. Anyway, so shaved ice was a thing, tapioca was a thing, and some guy decided, and milk, just normal like tea, because tea is a big part of Chinese culture and Taiwanese culture. So some dude decided, how about I mix all of them together? And he kind of put the tapioca balls in, he put the shaved ice, and then he put the tea on top. And he pretty much created, and it's still up for grabs who actually did it.
It was either in Tainan or Taichung.
Yeah, or it's Taipei.
Or Taipei. There's
so it's like three places of claim. It doesn't matter.
All of them in the three different regions of
at the
Taiwan.
same time. It was like one of those things.
Yeah.
Anyway, the fact of the matter is, it is delicious if you like sweet things, and it's one of Taiwan's signature things. Yeah. And it's taken...
It is good.
Yeah,
it is good. I just know how unhealthy it is.
It's very unhealthy. It's taken the world by storm, like at least the Asian world, because everywhere you go
dude,
Asia...
my brothers have been addicted to boba for years now. I'm talking like probably 5, 6, 7 years now. Wow. In my small town in upstate New York,
there we go.
At a Taiwanese tea shop.
Fantastic. Taiwan number one. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah. It became a cultural juggernaut in my upstate New York town.
Which is bizarre.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is. But, here's in Taiwan, you'll have like sexy girls selling it and stuff.
Not usually. We threw that in there literally just because we thought there was some sexy girls there, so it was interesting.
Yeah, anyway. But so we thought we'd end it on a kind of a little bit of an educational note where boba tea comes from. Also, boba, the reason the name is because it's kind of like slang for breasts because it's round. So you're actually saying breast tea when you say boba tea.
So think about that next time you're sipping on a boba. Does it taste like breast milk?
Oh, gross, dude. Now you really put me off.
Just joking. Anyway, let's finish this up.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, anyway.
Sorry about that.
I had an experience once.
I know. One day we'll talk about that.
Yeah, anyway, guys, so it's questions and answers time where we answer your questions and you question our answers. All right. So, what do we got?
Scranton Beats. Are you from Scranton, Pennsylvania? If so, you're like a half an hour from where I grew up. You guys ever learn Bopomofo? I did not. However,
no, that's a Taiwan thing.
They tried to teach me a million times in Taiwan. In Taiwan, I used to have Bopomofo keyboards and flip phones. People call me Bopomofo. Even in Kindy.
You're a Bopomofo.
Yeah, you have to actually. Some of the Kindies, some of the Western people had to teach it to the kindergartners. Skidoosh. Oh, been following you since back in the day. Moved to China 9 years ago. Thank you for bringing these things to light. It's always spot on.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
JD, man, what are your thoughts on the New York Times call for a reality czar? Sounds ominous to me. I actually don't know what that is.
Yeah, we'll look into it.
Sander Oswald. Is the CCP's ultimate quest world domination cartoon style, or is it sly and aggressive attitude, a grand attempt to try and become the ultimate standalone superpower nation? It's more like China actually... Originally, I talked about this in my video yesterday. The original ambitions of communist China were to get wealthy enough to be able to cut itself off from the world again. Right. China's always had this psyche that they're very isolationist, right? Why do you think they banned their internet from outside participation? Sure. They don't want their citizens to really be influenced by the outside world.
Yeah.
The thing is that the current ambitions are a little bit stronger. That's why Xi Jinping got rid of term limits and stuff, is because his dreams for China are a little bit more colonialist, right? And that's why you have Belt and Road Initiative. So that's really the end game, is to be a global power, a global force with very strong influence around the world.
Yeah, and they want to make the rest of the world bend to their idea of history and their idea of what happened, and censor the rest of the world. You may never say anything that hurts the feelings of the Chinese people.
Right.
You know, that
for power.
Yeah, exactly.
Archie Bachelor, what's up with Spotify uploads? I uploaded that yesterday.
Yeah,
the last one. Sometimes it's behind. We use this client that puts it out to all different podcast things, so it probably takes a little while.
Yeah, we'll get it up there eventually.
Yeah,
you know.
This one will be up probably tomorrow, hopefully. Matt B, thank you very much. Massive Fins. China isn't going to like Elon's Starlink, internet from satellites. China, and I mark my words, we've called everything correctly thus far.
Sure.
China will find a way to stop that internet signal.
Oh, well,
they will find a way.
They will probably pressure Elon Musk, because he's opened all the Tesla factories and stuff in China. He's doing all that stuff. Be like, hey, if you want to still be here, you better not allow that service to work here.
Or make a different version of it.
Yeah,
that's censored or allowed to be censored.
Yeah, I know it goes against the whole idea, but maybe the satellites the satellites will like turn off when they go flying over China or something.
Sure,
we'll figure it out.
Elon, don't bend a knee.
He's already gone to China. He's being dumb. If you're listening to
Elon. Elon, I know you're a huge fan. I know you tune in every week.
As a fellow South African, I implore you to not bend the knee to the CCP.
There's two people that love us the most that tune in every week: Elon Musk and Tim Pool.
Yeah,
they love us dearly. Please don't bend down to the CCP.
Yeah,
and that goes to you, Tim. Don't do it.
Yep.
Sean Wyland, Daniel DiMartino Booth, and down the middle has documents proving the CCP let the Wuhan flu spread globally to break out of a tough trade deal, and that is hopefully something people will bring to light. I haven't looked at those documents. So.
Yeah.
11. Winston, have you ever thought about applying for political asylum in the U.S.? It's very difficult. Trust me. There's been a lot of people persecuted to a lesser extent and got approved.
Here's the thing. I don't think I would apply for asylum unless it was my absolute last resort. Sure. I am in a bit of a tough position. South Africa, my home country, is incredibly hostile towards people like myself nowadays, but that's not enough reason for me to claim asylum.
Sure.
I obviously can't go back to China. That's no reason for me to claim asylum either. At the end of the day, it would only ever be an option for me if, let's just say, all of my family were murdered brutally. I mean, all of them, because some of them, But I'm just saying, like, if everything went terribly wrong and South Africa was on fire and I had no other option in the world, and I was being completely hunted down by various governments, that's maybe when I'd consider it. But as long as I still have my own agency.
I think people are confused, though. Like, we don't... I appreciate it. I appreciate the thoughts and everything, but we don't need help. Like, we've done everything legally and we're fine. Yeah. We're okay. We're okay.
We've been following...
We're not, like, hopping around on tourist visas.
No. You don't need to worry.
Everything's
legal and above board, and it's been a struggle and incredibly expensive and difficult.
But we're here.
Anyone who's had to deal with the American immigration system legally will know that it's a hell of a thing, and it's really tough, and it's really difficult.
I don't know why people think you can...
And the fact that I'm here is because we've done things legally, don't worry. But I appreciate the sentiment, and if I were to ever apply for asylum, let's say, if that was ever a thing down the line, you bet your bottom dollar you'd know about it, because I would let everyone know, because that would strengthen my case.
Sure.
But
anyway, don't worry about it. We got it.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you. 3 Kreen. We talk about China's claims on the South China Sea, not allowing the shooting on fishing ships, yet demand countries bordering the Arctic to follow international Navy law to not restrict access. Hypocrites. Well, we don't need to say anything because you literally just said it.
Yeah, no, the CCP are hypocrites.
It's a big bowl of hypocrisy. Absolutely delicious hypocrisy.
Yes, rules for thee, but not for me.
Yeah, it's a good one. Did you make that up?
No, I think it's something.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I edited it a bit.
Oh, okay. Me. Bearing in mind the huge amount of foreign debt that China holds, how many of our goods are now made in China? How do we as individuals, companies, and governments safely disengage from China? Stop buying from China? Make sure that your local politicians definitely know about China's influence on things like education.
Yeah, trade, Confucius Institutes, things like that.
Research positions should not be going to people with Chinese Communist Party ties.
Yes.
There's so many things you can do. Just spreading awareness is the most important thing, so people don't just keep buying bullshit on Amazon and going throughout their life like nothing's happening.
That's true. And I mean, if you're concerned about, where is our cheap labor going to come by, don't forget that there are other countries as options. If that's what you need in your life is your cheap gadget or something.
India will fill in that.
India,
role.
Vietnam,
It's already happening.
Tons of places.
It's already happening.
And
Amazon doesn't want it to happen, but it is happening.
how about just not filling your life with cheap, meaningless junk?
How about stop being a mindless consumer?
No, I mean, be a mindless consumer.
Be a
all you
mindless
want.
consumer, but you don't have to have those cheap trinkets.
You don't need the cheap crap. What I'm saying is, like, save up a little bit. And if you're buying a TV, make it a Sony.
Or do this.
Yeah, or buy something made in America. So if you're going to buy a product, just try to find something that's well made, spend a little bit more, and you're really doing your part.
Yes.
Jeremiah
Berry, do you think China will or is meddling in Burma, Myanmar democracy? I mean, they have for the longest time. China's been trying to win over Burma, as well as all of Southeast Asia. I mean, Burma is the only country. Burma and Cambodia, I would say Cambodia is lost to China. It's to the point where I wouldn't even go there now, just for security threats. Burma, on the other hand, is on the kind of in between.
Yeah,
but
it's a shame. It's a shame what happened in Burma.
Yeah, and then the rest of Southeast Asia is kind of leaning against China. They're like, "Whoa, get out of here, bro! A little too much influence." So we'll see. Lisa Ruthless, thank you very much. Singapore dollars, thank you, all the way from hot Singapore. Massive Fins, what should I do with my China owns Biden with Z, by the way, T-shirt? Okay. People laugh when I wear it.
I don't know what you should do with it. Keep wearing it.
Okay,
it's kind of funny.
You like.
Yeah.
Tomas Agius, you should interview Drew Pavlo. Who's that again? Sounds super.
It rings
familiar.
a bell. Is that Australian guy goes around?
Oh yeah.
Goes around.
We should. We actually should.
Why not?
You guys make that happen.
Yeah.
Make the magic happen.
If anyone can put us in touch, please do.
Kiwi Bear Muzza, thank you very much. Magnum Beef. Y'all are making a difference. My dad was recently talking about some COVID conspiracy theories he heard from mainstream media pundits. Your channel prepared me to counter that stuff with insight on how China actually works and point him to reliable sources.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Happy to hear it. Nothing but logic and reason on our channels, guys.
Yeah, please. This is... We try our best to provide proper proof, but we have experience dealing with China for so many years.
That's where we come up with our opinions.
Yeah, absolutely. So we know how to sift through the bullshit.
In current context in China. That's perhaps
absolutely.
The most important thing is the necessary context we have, the people we talk to, and the language skills we possess.
Yeah.
And that is why you take anyone on the ground reporters over there with a little grain of salt.
Absolutely.
Akosha, keep up the good work, guys. Thank you. Tony Devos, Liu Xin, prettier than Joseph Goebbels, but just as amoral as him. Leo, let's be honest, she doesn't have much of a choice.
Yeah, no,
you
she
know
doesn't.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like anybody in China, if you're in media, let's say you're this pretty young woman that wants to go into communications in China. I taught a communications class, a journalism class actually, which is ironic. I taught a journalism class in China, by the way.
Yeah.
From this shit book that they made me teach.
Yeah.
Mostly talked about bullshit, but anyway, pretty young lady, pretty handsome young guy, want to go into communications. You're gonna end up just working for the CCP more or less.
You have to.
It's not your fault.
People don't understand that you have to follow the rules in China.
Right.
And it's not like in the West where you can fall back on unions or you can fall back on the law. It's like, oh, my boss is forcing me to do something uncomfortable. You can really sue them here or something. You can't do that in China. It's like you lose your job and then you go back to zero. And you won't get work again in the same field because it's all about guanxi and connections. So you really are at the mercy of your boss or the organization you work for in China. It really holds a lot of sway over your life. That's why people work 6 days a week, stay in the company dormitories, don't ever go out. It's a different kind of a lifestyle. And if you've witnessed it yourself, you'll understand why people don't really have a choice.
Right. Correct. Winnie Yip. Been missing the live stream since I started my new job. Lucky I was able to catch it this morning. Thanks for the hard work, guys.
And thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Having you guys here live is very important to us. It's a good morale booster, and it really helps us
because we feel very
alone
sometimes.
Yeah.
Corey Samek, thank you. Forrest Gump. They're supposedly taking over the world, but they cannot make a simple interview work.
Yeah, I was talking about the
Cgtn they have the same
thing.
foibles that we have. It's like little YouTubers.
Little YouTubers, yeah, it's kind of funny.
However, absolutely none of the Western media is impartial. I guess we still do better propaganda than the CCP.
Well, I mean, the thing is, impartial or not, you've got differing opinions out there.
When we say media, we're not just talking about CNN, Fox News, MSNBC. We're talking about people like us.
And we're talking about your college campus newspaper or your,
anyone that has a voice.
Yeah.
That's the media.
YouTube.
Yeah.
You can't do that in China.
So you can't say our media. You know.
Like I can now, right now, on this live stream say Biden's a moron, Trump's a moron, Hillary Clinton's a moron, Kamala Harris is a moron, AOC is a moron, I don't know, Boris Johnson's a moron, Prince Charles is a moron, Princess Diana's dead. I can say whatever I want. It's not going to get shut down. If you're live streaming in Chinese media and you say Xi Jinping is a moron, you know, if you say Lin Biao is a moron, actually, they'll probably like that. If you say, you know, Mao Zedong was a fat piece of shit, any of these things, you're immediately shut down. Not only will your live stream be cancelled live, because they have people watching this, and they have people that are there, or algorithms that detect certain things, or somebody will report you to the censorship board like live. Not only will they shut it down, we will get arrested. Okay? And that's what we're trying to say here. Okay?
Yeah, that's why I don't like when people equate this.
You can't equate it. You can't.
It's not the same thing.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to think.
Yeah.
At this point, you know, without being ostracized.
Yeah.
Having a personal thought in China without being ostracized at this point.
Yeah, you can't. And so that's what we're trying to prove here. Anyway,
Yes.
that was my point.
Thank you, by the way.
Yeah.
Lenore Hamburg, thank you for making this content, and greetings from Finland. Kiitos. Michael A. L. Garito. Hello, Winston and Lawai. Have you heard of the Fang Fang spy scandal? We sure have. Greetings from San Diego. I saw you at the meet and greet thing. That was really fun though.
That was crazy, man. Like
you guys down there are awesome. There was our best meetup ever. One of them.
But I mean, it was just crazy. We didn't expect so many people to turn up.
Hundreds of people.
Yeah, we couldn't. We were flooding out onto the streets. It was amazing. Thank you so much for coming.
We actually specifically went down there because we thought it'd be smaller and more easy to manage than LA.
Yeah, we were dumb. Anyway.
D-Rex, thank you. Retrig 202, Winston, please consider also uploading your videos to alternative streaming's library or Odyssey. CMilk does.
I do.
We do.
Well, actually,
we're not telling people about that yet, but we will.
Yeah, we're experimenting, but yes, we do see the need to look at alternative platforms.
His entire channel's up there, bro.
Yeah. But we're busy experimenting with something, and once it's all up and running correctly,
we're actually working with the founders and the people that run the website.
Which website?
Odyssey.
Yeah,
Odyssey recommended.
Yeah,
we know him. We know that. You know when people say, "I know the owner of this restaurant," we actually do know the owner of this website.
Yeah.
Elba Elf 84. Actually, guys, if not, you own a TV, you need a license. You need a license in the UK. It's if you watch live broadcasts that are being shown.
Yes, but how do they prove whether or not you're watching a live broadcast? You know.
Winter Phoenix Forest Kieran. That is a name.
Yeah.
Look, you lived in upstate New York. I have to choose between medical residencies very soon. What is Northern New York, Syracuse like versus Southern New York, Brooklyn? Which is best? And regarding dating, is it true foreign Asian students are very insular? The latter thing, yeah, I mean more or less.
The insular thing, absolutely.
Yeah, more or less. You obviously I've met a lot of my subscribers.
They wouldn't dare to date a British.
Yeah. I met a lot of my subscribers that ended up staying after their university's over, and they integrated perfectly.
Sure.
But a lot of people are very insular.
It's incredibly tough to break into, just the Asian social circles, Chinese social circles, especially when they're studying overseas. They feel a little threatened, and they always stick together.
Be nice, and be the bigger person, and actually, try to make friends with people.
The way to break into it is just learn a bit of basic Chinese.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You just
break the ice a little bit.
Yeah, all you need to do is say a couple words in Chinese, get the conversation going, and you can make friends.
People are not normal as
it's
anywhere
not that,
else.
It's not like there's something wrong with them. They're just very, kind of hesitant to break out of their little bubbles, and that's just how it is.
And that's fine.
Yeah,
you can be the person that breaks into them.
Dude,
people do it all the time.
It's the same. It's the same in China when you've got foreigners who hang out in a bubble. Where you'll get a Chinese person will come out of the blue and start speaking a little bit of English, and they break into the bubble that way.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, to answer your probably question you actually really care about.
Sure.
I'm from upstate New York, so I have upstate New York pride, but I do know that other than nature, there is literally nothing going on. Syracuse is a pretty dead city. I love it. It's still a dead city. I would personally, if you're younger, definitely just go to New York City.
Yeah.
New York City is... Yeah, well, it's in New York City.
Okay.
New York City is going to be just so much more dynamic and more fun. But if you are looking for an experience, if you like hiking, you just want to have an experience where you're kind of off the grid type of thing, definitely upstate New York. But I would definitely, if you want to save money too, because New York City is freaking expensive. D-Rex, always want to support you guys. Finally get around to setting up.
Thank you.
Thanks for all the insightful content and keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thanks a
very
lot, mate.
much. I think it was a girl, actually.
Oh, thank you very much.
It's okay. I'm not an ad.
Ma'am.
I just think D
It's
is
ma'am.
I think
Okay.
I think it's D is a female name.
Yeah.
D. Smith. What's the simplest way to get
I don't
my
know.
Chinese?
D's. Yeah, it's a band's name too. You know.
D. Okay, fair enough.
Whichever way. We apologize. Thank you.
Yeah. What's the simplest way to get my Chinese girlfriend to not defend the CCP so intently? Don't bring it up. Just don't bring it up. You're not going to win that argument. You have to. If you want to slowly change someone's, we've talked about this too much, but when we slowly want to change a Chinese person's mind, don't confront. There is no value in confrontation. What we're doing right now, talking to you guys, we can do that. We're speaking English. We're having a dialogue. You understand where we're coming from based on our experience. But when you're talking to somebody that is already, fervently going to defend the CCP and stuff, you can't be like, oh yeah, well, blah, blah, blah.
It's difficult to break away from it. It's a knee-jerk reaction. It's like a religious person that's been brought up in a religious kind of commune somewhere, a cult or something. It's difficult for them to accept any criticism, I should say. The only way that I've found this to be effective, and I said this multiple times, is to find another Chinese person who has already had their mind changed or was perhaps born in your country and is more open-minded and can talk about these.
There's a lot of them.
And when a Chinese person will talk to them about these issues, they're more apt to listen and believe them. But if a foreigner tries to say anything, immediately that defense mechanism is triggered and they'll shut down. They won't even listen to you.
And it's not a natural thing. It's from education.
Yeah.
The West is bad. Other countries are bad. And we are Chinese, so we are very different.
Yeah.
And that's that poisonous education that's gone through.
Absolutely. And it's a real thing.
Yeah.
And it's helped with people I know personally, here in America, my wife talking to some American Chinese that have been here for a long time, it's helped change her mind about certain things. And I just stand back. It's not up to me to try and force her to think a certain way, because you don't do that to people. No. People have to make up their own minds about things anyway. Adults. So I let her talk to these friends of hers, and they can talk to her about certain things, and she can make up her own mind. And it's helped. It's helped a lot. It's really balanced her out a lot.
For sure.
Yeah.
11. I'm here just to claim that the airplane is a Brazilian invention. Lol, love you, sea milk. Thank you.
The Wright brothers were Brazilian?
You don't even know? The Raito. I don't know.
Isn't that Italian? Yeah, Raito Brazas.
Anyway, Robert Finn. Really enjoying this podcast. Thank you. We enjoy it too. Yeah. That's why we do it every week now. What do you guys think of the BNO passports are being banned in Hong Kong? I'm not surprised. No. I mean, let's be honest. If you're at this point, if you're gonna leave Hong Kong and you're gonna accept asylum in other countries, you're gonna have to face the fact you're probably not going back.
I think it's a tough situation, isn't it?
It's horrible.
Yeah. If you can get a British, here's the thing though. If you can get a British citizenship, if you got your BNO, if you had to choose between a Hong Kong ID or a British citizenship, go for the British citizenship, because British people get 90 days in Hong Kong anyway when you land there. So all you need to do is continue to live in Hong Kong with your British citizenship, maybe cross the border into Shenzhen, come back in, you get another 90 days. Kind of like reverse visa runs, you know what I mean? So it's only every 3 months you kind of have to visit Shenzhen, go to a massage place and come back and you're done. Keep living in Hong Kong on your British passport. That's my advice. Why not?
If you're leaving, you're probably disenchanted with what's happening.
No, I'm just saying it's a situation where they're now offering you a choice.
Sure.
Either you give up your
BNO,
your British passport, and you choose a Hong Kong ID only, or you go get your British passport and you're not allowed to have a Hong Kong ID. So then,
why not just travel on your
why not just
passport?
take the British nationality? That gives you the option to leave if you want to.
I also don't recommend traveling into mainland China.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm just offering think
sure.
outside the box.
Real Naga, which means that, so don't get your panties in a bunch. What about SCMP? Is it still a trustworthy news source or already censored bias? We've talked about this a lot. Yes, it is majority owned by Alibaba. It has a very heavy bias towards the CCP because it has to. Some of the editorials make it appear to be nuanced. We were featured in SMCP on a hit piece, actually.
Yeah, hit piece against us,
So you can kind of understand, we won't promote with that article, but you can kind of understand that people that they promoted in that article will give you a semblance of what that the journalistic integrity is left over on that publication.
Sounds good.
Norman Fair, does the CCP not realize that all of its lies and saving face may make them look even worse, or do they not care?
They just will continue to pretend.
They don't care.
They just pretend like, oh, you didn't catch them out.
Yes.
Just pretend that their lie still stands. And that's kind of how it goes, doesn't it? They just pretend.
TD Smith says, $5 from Quaylaw60 for shaver for SerpentZA. It's the old joke that we're taking their donation.
Oh, right, yeah. Thanks. Actually, I do need a shave. I apologize. It's been an interesting week.
Hi, Winston. Cancel culture doesn't exist. It's rich people complaining about Twitter bans, no more dinner party invites, and lost book deals.
Okay.
Sure. Jonathan Lau, any thoughts on the longer telegram? See, you covered it. I don't know about that.
The longer telegram? I'm not
I'll
sure.
have to look into it. Julian Rader says, Winston, get a colored tie, mate. It's not a funeral, lol.
Yeah.
Usually wear a colored tie, right?
No, I mean, I tend...
It is pretty funeral.
This is a very old tie.
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't know. I've always liked
Still have
darker
old
ties. Yeah. Lots of old ties. Yeah.
David Pay says, Psaki is this press secretary. She didn't answer questions and says, I have to circle back. Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
I'll have to circle back on that, David.
All right.
Dave, post on Rumble too. Sure, maybe. I don't know. What is a Rumble?
It's another one of those
people keep telling us
alternative
about stuff.
platforms.
We're working with Odyssey right now, but we're doing a hard launch later.
Yeah.
Kane Ra, a friend of mine divorced her husband because of him, and her parents beat her. Sadly, they got a child together, so she's quite scared.
Yeah, this is something that's quite common. It's hard to talk on this because, people say domestic abuse is bad in America and stuff, and the only reason they say that is because it gets wide exposure, and it has some of the best laws against domestic abuse. Just in Western countries in general, the UK as well. It's heavy. It's a heavy bias towards protecting women in relationships, and it's a good thing. And so you think it's bad, and that's only because it's being exposed that much. The domestic abuse situation in China is far worse, far worse than you can imagine. And you also have to realize that the big population there. So even if you're going to say only a few people are bad eggs, that means like a few 100 million people are bad eggs, right? It's a big issue. But because China controls the news so much, because they always, if it happens, it doesn't get reported as a police report. It's not a crime. It's seen as a sort of a family issue that needs to be sorted out by the family. And usually you see families battling these things out. It's like a feud. You'll have like the grandparents and those grandparents all blaming each other and getting compensation and all sorts of crap. It's huge there. It's really bad. And it's something...
There's a lot of young people, like movements and stuff, that try to stop this domestic abuse thing or at least get legal like intention. Yeah. And it's always met with like nothing. There's no change.
Absolutely.
Ever.
China's got a long way to catch up when it comes to these things, and things like sexual harassment in the offices and stuff like that. Dude, I've seen firsthand with that rapist boss that raped all of his female employees that I used to work for. Remember?
Yeah, he really.
And that was it's a story I really need to tell because there's a lot behind that story. Not. Yeah, I know, but like an in-depth.
Yeah. Do a video
but yeah, I need to do a video on that. But it's still a big issue in China. And so don't for a second think that China's got that licked. No. You know what I mean?
Yeah. DD Smith says, get China Uncle Mikey with you guys. We actually love China.
Yeah,
Uncle
he's a
Mikey.
nice
awesome.
guy. He's a great guy.
I've spoken to him a couple times. Mm-hmm. Case closed 93 because of you. And yeah, we would have him on. Of course we'd have him on at some point.
100%.
There's certain security concerns for people in China that we worry
about. We don't want to, associate it with us too much.
Yeah. Case closed 93. Because of you, I've been reading all about South Africa. I recently read that one of the closest allies of apartheid South Africa was Taiwan, and Mandela broke ties afterwards. Do you have any experience with that?
Yeah, look, I know a lot of Taiwanese people because, South Africa and Taiwan had a very healthy relationship. It wasn't about apartheid or not.
It was government.
It was just... Even after apartheid was finished, there was a very healthy relationship. Taiwan had its own printing presses there, so you had like Taiwanese newspapers that were distributed because I went and saw that stuff, because my Taiwanese friends, we'd go around in the Taiwanese circles and there was a big thing going on. But it was actually when China offered the BRICS, the BRICS thing, when they got South Africa in on this whole BRICS initiative, they basically gave them an ultimatum. Like, you either recognize us and become part of this BRICS thing, and get rid of Taiwan, or we're not going to deal with you.
So they accepted BRICS.
Yeah, so they accepted BRICS.
South Africa's pretty dumb. They should have accepted gold instead.
Worthless. You know what I mean? Anyway, they got enough gold. The thing is, it was a choice between either dealing with mainland China or dealing with Taiwan, and they chose mainland China, and all the printing presses shut down, all the support for the Taiwanese community and all those ties and stuff just disappeared overnight. And it's kind of terrible because a lot of people really were affected badly by it.
Sure. Ben Cheever says, was driving home listening, but mainstream media and big tech is getting very close to China levels. Take a look at Hunter Biden's suppression. Always love you guys. Yeah,
Okay.
Unfortunately. Ruth Power, are there any feminist movements in China? There are lots.
There are feminist movements, but
They're
man,
met
it's
with-
tough.
They're met with not very much support.
Yeah.
Isaiah Penny, how has the Chinese media been covering the Biden administration? They haven't been talking about it very much at all.
Yeah.
That's been radio silence.
Mm-hmm.
Master Singleton, sadly the CCP is rewriting world history and using soft power to influence the world, like in Australia, buying out the Victorian state government. Yes,
Sure.
but that is a defeatist attitude to have, and that's why you need to keep talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's
It's
what
not like,
that's
it's
what
all
we're here
over.
for.
Yeah.
You know, dude, the way China's been manipulating everybody for the longest time now, it has to stop. But the only way it stops is when people realize what's going on. Okay? You got a basket of fruit in your house, fruit keeps disappearing, you don't know who's doing it. If you see who's doing it, you can address the problem, you know?
Yes.
So just be vigilant, watch. And when you see that hand reaching out, see who that hand is attached to, and then you can start to talk to that person and say, hey, stop doing that, you know?
Right. It's a good interesting. You painted like a weird picture, man. Best wishes to you guys. Really, we're enjoying Worthless Whips these days from
Excellent.
Andrew Clunas. Thank you. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
we enjoy doing
We
it
enjoyed
too.
doing it. We had a lot of fun yesterday.
Yeah.
Doing some crap.
Yeah.
Jimmy Black, a Chinese student, was beat up by her Chinese boss's friend because she asked him to pay her 10 Australian dollars per wage at Fun Tea, Adelaide, Chinatown, South Australia. The whole thing was caught on camera.
That's what we talked about. Yeah.
This is probably sent before that.
Yeah.
Sean Kiernan, I got an email notification from a Quora post parroting China beat COVID because authoritarianism is better narrative got 1K upvotes. I replied and got 500 downvotes. Is the propaganda machine really falling apart? Yes, and let me tell you why. You're talking about a literal CCP website. Quora is a CCP website.
It belongs to China now.
Now, the fact that the West lost Quora to the CCP is pretty sad and unfortunate. At the same time, you need to avoid that website or look at it as a little capsule of seeing the thoughts.
The fact that you can see it
Right.
as being a Chinese propaganda machine means it's starting to fail.
And thank you for the donation, but also what I wanted to say is the reason that it's starting to fail is that people are actually talking about it now.
Yeah.
People are talking about it. Yes, it's gotten to a point where CCP influence and soft power has gotten so rampant and crazy that has infiltrated a lot of our minds and like our dialogues and what we do and censor. At the same time, there's never been a counterpoint to that until now.
Yeah.
You know, there is a lot of counterpoints to that now, and it's making us very excited.
Yeah.
It's not just us anymore.
Yeah, that's really good to see.
Dennis Stafford, thank you. Vexel Turning, have you tried to contact Tim Pool to get on your podcast?
Oh,
It's
man.
really amazing to have you guys on there. Vexel, I thank you so much. I hope you're part of the meme. If
Yeah.
you're not, it doesn't matter. I'll explain it to you real quick. We have contacted Tim Pool probably up to 5 times now. I've been in touch with his manager. We have gotten to the point where it's like people are just spamming his podcast or his live shows with trying to get ADVChina, Loud86, and SerpentZA on there.
Yeah.
Over and over again to the point where he's like, yeah, we're going to do it. Like, we got this. And then I got another contact from a friend at China Uncensored that said, hey, you should go on there. He actually was the conduit again for us. Just
because he was on the show.
there. He's like, okay, let's do this. You know, like I just met with these guys and still nothing. Tim,
I think
what are you doing?
he's avoiding us.
Yes.
He's
So,
really avoiding us.
I know everyone out here is in the meme at this
Yeah,
point. I
yeah,
just want to
yeah.
make sure this person
Sure.
didn't waste their money
Sure,
without
sure,
getting
sure.
an explanation. Nathan87.
Mm-hmm.
That's a son of a yeah. Okay,
You're getting
sorry.
there. Yeah.
Did you see the government push to promote masculinity in boys? Yes, we actually did a video about that years ago. They've been.
Yeah.
It's so crazy how slow the Western news is to pick up these stories. It's nuts.
Yeah, it is.
We covered that probably 4 years ago.
Yeah, didn't we do it on ADVChina?
Yeah, go look up like a masculinity crisis in China. You watch it. It's a whole video on it.
Yeah. That's where we got those guys dancing in the woods.
Sure.
I love it.
Yeah. Seems there's some criticism within China. Which
Yeah.
way do you think this will go? Well, like I said, this is a talking point for a long time ago, and it's just being
Still
talked about
is.
again.
Still is. It keeps coming up. And you have to understand, when you've got an education system like China that forces children to basically just be book nerds, if I can put it that way, you're going to breed a situation where you don't have very masculine boys running around, because they don't go and play outside. They don't go and like build forts and fight and things like that. Yeah, obviously. They basically just study, go do piano after class, that kind of thing.
So then the government, their response is not to give the kids more time to have outlets and play outside or inspire creativity. The idea is, no, let's force masculinity in the classroom with books.
Yeah,
It doesn't
I know.
make any sense.
I know. So anyway,
Stop.
it's interesting.
D.D. Smith says Chinese embassies in all states by 2023. Well, why are they shutting them down then?
Yeah,
I doubt it.
we'll see.
RH, hi guys, discovered your channels in the beginning of the pandemic when looking for information on Uyghur Muslims and scams. You guys kept me entertained all these months. Keep up the good work. Enjoy
Thank
some
you.
beers and
That's
thank you. That's very
incredibly generous. Thank you so much.
RH.
Yeah.
My Brother's Keeper, what is the name of that cheesy movies you guys cut in here and there? Any other funny propaganda movies? There's lots.
Yeah.
That one in particular is called Bin Wang.
Yeah, it's like 中国兵王.
Yeah, 中国
which
Bin
means
Wang.
Chinese soldier king.
Yeah, so maybe look up China's Soldier King if you can't
Yeah.
speak Chinese.
中国兵王.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
Mad for it 1 2, and yeah, there's lots of them out there.
There's tons of these stupid things. Yeah.
Mad for it 1 2 3. Keep up the good work, fellas.
Thank you.
Thank you. DOX 360. Finally caught you live. Just want to say thanks for what you do.
Hey, it's an absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
Mike Cuter, enjoying the Monday driving around LA videos. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.
Looking forward to the 90210 Redux in this mudded post off-road Ram.
That's not a bad idea.
We're thinking about going to some of the real crap areas in that truck after it's all decked out.
Yeah, because it's, it's big enough to escape from any kind of bad situation.
Well, yeah, because people are always like, well, you show the bad parts. We can show the bad parts of America all day, bruh.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Don't worry. You didn't see our Hollywood thing?
But we got to mod our truck so it's bulletproof first, obviously.
Yeah.
You idiot.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Bad Cat. Wuhan lab leak is going more mainstream. Simil, could you do an update of your prior reporting? Nah, that's probably get me murdered. Just saying, 1986. Did you guys hear about the recent BBC report on Xinjiang and the allegations of systemic rape?
Yes.
Yes.
And apparently, the US is taking that seriously, which I like.
I actually got some good material for next time that we can talk about.
It's a real thing. Obviously, that stuff is happening. Enough people have reported that it's not just some made up nonsense. We'll get into that once we find out more. We're going to speak to some actual Uyghur people.
Yes. D.D. Smith says, sea milk, Pantene conditioner hint. You know what's funny? I use Pantene conditioner. So if you're hinting at that,
sounds like panties.
Or maybe you're insinuating that you can tell that I use Pantene conditioner.
I don't use it.
The reason my hair looks dry and up is because I use hairspray.
Oh, it's the best thing is
being bald.
I've said this before, but somehow I don't know if it was in your place or in my place or somewhere. There's like this bottle of like L'Oreal Men Expert is what it said on it, and it's like shampoo or something. And then I got this like 3-in-1 that's like body wash, shaving cream, hair, like shampoo,
it was everything.
Everything in one. And I'm like,
yeah.
You are not Men Expert.
No.
Throw that away. Whoever made this 3-in-1 crap,
that's
Men Expert. It's like one soap to rule them all. You don't
That's
need all
I
these
did.
funny, weird
I don't
products
need
and
that crap.
stuff, man.
Screw that.
Yeah.
His real name's Dieter.
Okay.
Uga, dark skin in Southeast Asia is associated with lower classes. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean darker skin your skin is, the harder it will be to be accepted or respected?
Yes, 100%. 100%. And it's an unfortunate truth. It's something that I spoke about. Actually, I spoke about it in our Chinese Girls Easy video. Mm-hmm. The reason why Chinese girls like to carry around parasols, umbrellas in the sun. It's because of that whole thing. The darker your skin, the lower class you are in China.
Like
That's how you're seen. But it's all over Southeast Asia. That's why they have all those whitening creams and things. And East Asia. It's just part of how things are there, and it's an unfortunate, stupid, nonsense thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luke, you guys are the reason I went to China in 2018. Had a great time. Cheers. And
awesome.
We're glad you did. I
Yeah.
hope you did. K Booty, any plans for a show about Freedom Road or Liberation Road or the pro-CCP parties in the states that have been taking over teachers' unions and working phone banks for leftist politicians? Oh, interesting.
We'll look into that. Look,
I'll actually write that down.
please do. Guys, there's been a lot of underhanded crap that's been going on throughout the years, and how, unfortunately, because the Western world is kind of very open and free and trusting, China's taken advantage of that and done things that we normally wouldn't expect foreign countries to do because just we're too trusting. And it's kind of become part of our job, really, to try and shine a light on all of these things and help people understand what's going on.
Right.
So you can expect to see more of a light shone on these things in the future on all of our channels, really. So stay tuned.
All right, guys, we went way over this time. I'm deeply apologetic, but it means that you guys are enjoying enough to pop over your questions, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys, for joining us. Remember, if you see something coming out of China, especially if it's on YouTube or on foreign media, just be skeptical.
The takeaway for this entire episode is if you see the letters CGTN, do not be don't just be skeptical. Know that it's bullshit.
It absolutely
It's
is.
from the Chinese government.
Yeah. Now there were 2 super chats, I believe, 2 or 3 super chats in the beginning that
we'll
because
be
of
able
the
to pull those
technical
up,
difficulties, we'll find them
And do it
and
next
we'll
time.
reply to them next time. Thank you very much, guys. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and a fantastic upcoming weekend. Tomorrow you can look forward to a video from me all about China's secret weapon.
And don't forget to check out my video from yesterday, which is about how China effed up.
Yes, that's a very important one.
Thank you.
There's one more quick
I'm
super
sorry.
chat. Let's
Hey guys, started
quickly.
watching your videos 5 months ago, and when I started to learn Mandarin, and I'm from Watkins Glen. That's near where I'm from. And I hope you guys get to take some laps on the track and go for a vintage weekend. Actually, I have a friend that is going to lend us our car to do laps at Watkins Glen. So it's going to be really fun. Yeah,
Fantastic.
cool.
Thank you very much. Anyway, guys, you know the drill. As always, until next time, stay awesome.